5-year-old student Bobby Askins for a false arrest and a restraining order.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 464 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Askins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss White, the defendant used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, he had you falsely arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
For violating a restraining order that he had against you. And you want him to pay to the tune of some $5,000 for having you falsely arrested. Mr. Askins says that he could have made an honest mistake.
Yes.
That's your defense. When were you arrested on this violation of the protective order that he had?
29th of August, 2002, ma'am.
And when had he received his protective order?
19th of July, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Askins, why did you feel as if you needed a protective order against Miss White in July?
Because she'd caused problems at work. She's caused problems when I'd go out with my friends. She'd come by friends' houses.
Did she ever damage any of your property?
No, ma'am.
Did she ever assault you or touch you in any way?
No, ma'am.
When had you separated from Miss White?
Around May.
So far, is that correct, that you separated in May?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a final protective order?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you consent to that? Or was there a trial?
There was a trial, ma'am.
When was the trial?
The trial was on the 1st of August, ma'am.
Okay. He filed for a protective order because he said you were harassing him. Then on August 1st, there was a trial on his request for a permanent order. For a year or 3 years?
Forever, as far as I knew. It'd be permanent.
Nothing's forever. Let's say for a year. There was a trial. Did you have a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Did you testify before a judge?
No, ma'am.
How could there be a trial? Did you have a trial in secret somewhere?
We had a trial, ma'am, and we were moved to a different courtroom, to a judge that usually doesn't do restraining orders.
I don't care whether it was a judge. Did you have a trial before a judge and give testimony before a judge?
Mr. Askins did, ma'am.
And what about you?
No, ma'am. He just asked me if I wanted any contact with Mr. Askins, and I stated no. At that time, he made it permanent.
All right, so on 8/1, he was granted a permanent order of protection. Now, Mr. Askins, I want you to tell me what happened on August 29th that caused you to have Miss White arrested.
I was over at a friend's house. It was 2 other friends and myself. We were outside. It was late, probably 2, 3 a.m., something like that. And a car pulled up. A woman got out, started cussing. It looked like Mandy White.
Just a second. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're outside, and a car pulled up. Were you sitting outside on somebody's porch? Were you sitting outside on a curb? Were you sitting outside on a grassy knoll? Where were you sitting?
Sitting outside on the porch.
And how far away was the truck?
Probably 30, 40 feet.
And it's dark outside?
Yes, ma'am.
So a truck pulls up, and very slowly you're going to tell me what happened.
A woman got out, started yelling cuss words.
Who got out?
A woman that looked like Mandy White got out, started yelling cuss words. I called the police and told them that I couldn't be 100% certain that it was her, but it did look like her, and the car was like hers. And from there, they arrested her, and the DA picked up the charges against her.
You mean you're sitting 40 feet away, and the person actually got out of the car and started to curse at you, and you couldn't tell that that person was your girlfriend or not?
Not 100% with it being dark.
Miss White, before the 29th of August, could you tell me why you were bothering him?
I wasn't, ma'am.
Why would he think you were bothering him?
I don't know, ma'am.
Where were you on the evening of August 29th?
I was at home asleep, ma'am.
Could you tell me where you were when the police arrested you?
Yes, ma'am. I had left for work that morning at 4:40, and we go to Peterson Air Force Base to pick up a van, and we drive it to Schriever Air Force Base. And I had gotten my weapon, and I was on post already, and my supervisor came and relieved me, and they took my weapon away in front of everybody and said that I needed to go to the commander's office. We went to the commander's office, and they then told me that I was under investigation for disobeying a lawful order, which was to stay away from Mr. Askins. Then they also told me that I had a warrant out for my arrest. So Master Sergeant took me to the sheriff's office in Colorado Springs, and they arrested me at that time. And then the Air Force did an investigation also, and everybody was interviewed and investigated while I was
I'd like
there.
to see the interviews.
Yes, ma'am.
How many friends were you with that night, sir?
2 friends.
Your two friends lied to the police, right?
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, they did. Seen the results of this paperwork and the investigation that was done?
No, I haven't.
Well, I'll tell you that when your two friends told the responding officer, because you called the police and you had some time to talk to your friends before they arrived, your friends told the police that you had all gone outside to smoke a cigarette and that your two friends each told the police that they saw her pull up into the driveway, curse you, scream at you. That's what they told them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so did you. There's nothing in this original report that suggests, sir, that you told the police that you weren't quite sure who it was. It looked like Miss White. You and your friends told the police initially that there was no question that it was Miss White. Want me to read you what you said?
Sure.
He, that's you, stated that he went outside to smoke a cigarette, at which time he observed the dark bronze Saturn pull into the driveway. Askins stated that at this time, White opened the driver's door of the vehicle and stepped outside. Askins stated that White then began to curse at him. He stated that after listening to White curse at him, he told her to leave, at which time she did. Where is there any question in that statement that you weren't sure of the identity of the person? Then he goes on to interview, stated that he was watching television when he heard someone yelling. He stated that he got up, looked out the front door, at which time he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then Mr. also stated that he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then I have a letter saying that the military has indicated that they will recommend that charges be filed against all three individuals for filing false charges against her. Anything ever happened with that?
Not that I'm aware of.
The statements that each of the three of you gave to the responding officer were directly contradictory to the statements that they gave later. That's what it says here. You want to look at this?
No, ma'am, that's okay.
Well, Mr. Askins, how do you respond to that, sir?
That their statements were different? How were they different?
Well, it's different when you say it could have been my ex-girlfriend, but it was dark and I couldn't be sure. That's different from it was Miss White. No question. That's different. Don't you see it's different?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you think of any reason, Miss White, why Mr. Askins would want to be vicious and vindictive?
Because I broke up with him, ma'am.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
We were together for about 6 months, and we had lived together. And he was very, very controlling. He would get upset when I wanted to see my family, and he wouldn't let me go. So I told him we should just be friends, and we were going to sleep in different bedrooms because I had a 2-bedroom apartment. He said that was too weird, and so he moved out. And then he just kept following me, and his truck was parked near my apartment at all times of the night.
Did Miss White break up with you?
It's more of a mutual thing than anything.
Explain it to me.
We were just fighting, weren't really getting along, and
Did she tell you that she wanted just to be friends and that you could share the apartment but not her bedroom? Did she tell you that?
yes. And I did move out and also left like certain items, so like a couch, so she wouldn't be without a couch and stuff like that.
But she broke up with you. She told you she wasn't interested in continuing the relationship as it had been. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, so can you explain to me what would be her rationale? What would motivate her to stalk you if, Mr. Askins, she broke up with you? Tell me why she would come stalking you and cursing you.
I have no idea.
She's not psychotic, is she?
I don't know.
Are you?
No.
Miss White, I have to make a judgment. And this is a very serious judgment that I have to make, because usually when you have a victim of a crime, if we were to award civil damages to someone who was harmed by being falsely arrested, that might have a chilling effect on the entire justice system, because people would have fear of coming forward, unless you can demonstrate to my satisfaction or to a court's satisfaction that someone maliciously and without cause filed a report that they knew or believed was either untrue or probably not true, and the police acted on it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we have here? We have a guy who was told to get out of the bedroom, that you were no longer interested in having a romantic relationship with him. He's out at 3 o'clock in the morning with some of his buddies, drinking. The three of them tell the exact same story to the police, that they saw you at a time when it was confirmed evidently through investigation that you were home. Couldn't have been you. As a result of which you were arrested, You were humiliated, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm satisfied that what he did was malicious. And this is probably one of the first times that I've been so satisfied. I'm satisfied what he did was malicious. What he did is because he's a big baby. What he did is because he's probably too short for a variety of reasons. In any event, I'm awarding you what you request, $5,000. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been pretty traumatic.
Got phone calls in the middle of the night, everything from her.
I think he's just a mean person.
Keep her away from me.
He started controlling her when they were dating, and he didn't like the fact that she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he was doing anything that he could to make her life horrible.
The victim, me, I feel like I am.
Finally, we have justice. Judge Judy is the best.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morgan versus King. Step forward, please.
Carpenter Gwen Morgan is suing her niece, 20-year-old hotel reservationist LaToya King, for vandalizing her car. LaToya denies the charge.
Ms. Morgan, I've read your complaint. The defendant is your niece, and it is your claim that she vandalized your car. You're going to tell me why you think she would do such a thing, and then, more importantly, you're going to tell me what proof you have that she did it. So let's start with the whys first. Why would she vandalize your car?
Well, around the beginning of December, I was called to my mother's house.
Your niece was living with your mother?
She lives with my mother.
For how long were you living with, is that your grandmother?
I lived with her all my life.
She ill?
Yes.
Who else lives there at the house with you?
Right now, just my grandpa and my son.
Is he all right? Your grandfather?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so then LaToya came home, and LaToya and the young man came to my mama's house, and we got into an argument because she didn't want the check to go direct deposit. She wanted it to come to the mailbox.
What check is she talking about?
This SSI check. I have the paper.
SSI check for whom?
My nephew, which is her half-brother.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Who's in charge of your brother's
My
SSI
grandmother.
check? Your grandmother is.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to do with that?
Well, the thing is, I'm my mother's provider because my mother's ill and mostly bedridden.
What do you mean she's your provider? What does that mean?
In-care health care provider for the elderly people.
You don't live there.
No, I don't. I don't, but I was hired to take care of her.
Whatever, I don't want to get into that. You got into an argument with your niece over who was going to be in charge.
Over a check. Whose check was going to be?
You got into an argument with your niece over who was going to be in charge of finances.
Whether the check come
I don't care.
direct
What?
deposit or
Finances, please. I don't have time to go into the whole thing. It's not necessary.
Okay.
That's what the argument was about.
Yes.
The argument was about money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He taunts me all the time.
What did he say?
He said, "Ha B, that's why we tore your car up. You tried to sue the wrong person."
Don't make a big story for me. I'm asking you a question. Stop making it up as you go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gwen Morgan says after a family argument, her niece, LaToya King, vandalized her car. LaToya says her aunt has a lot of enemies.
Ms. Morgan, when was the argument about money? Give me the date.
On December 27th.
When was your car vandalized?
Well, I woke up on the 28th I got out there about 6 o'clock a.m.
And your car was vandalized?
Yes.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes.
Can I see them, please?
Thank you.
Okay, clearly somebody vandalized your car. They flattened your tires, scratched it up, painted it up. Nasty. Now, the next question is, what proof do you have that your niece was responsible for this damage?
Okay, after the disturbance, she called the police and told the police all kind of lies where he just wrote an incident disturbance report. So I went home to my apartment, and she kept calling my house, telling me that if I didn't come back over there to fight her and the young man, that she was going to come over to my house and tear my car up. She wanted me to come out in the rain and fight with both of them.
Do you have a police report?
No, I just have the case number for the police.
Okay. Ms. King, want to try to explain to me what happened at your house?
First of all, she has a lot of enemies, but I know that's irrelevant. But the reason why we got into an argument was because she was trying to put her name on my brother's check, which my grandmother didn't want it. And how we got into an argument, me and my boyfriend was already at the house, and she came in. I didn't know what was going on. She was holding my grandmother down, making my brother go through her purse looking for his bank statements and all this. Why? I'm not sure.
What do you mean she was holding your grandmother down?
She was holding my grandmother down.
What does that mean?
Like forcing her to like not grab her purse from my brother, which my brother is mentally challenged, so he's easily to be manipulated. So it's not his fault or anything, but she was holding her down. So I'm like, what are you doing? And then that's when we got into an argument. She was trying to fight me, but I didn't want to fight her. I just called the police.
And the police responded?
Yes. They came and they asked her to leave.
Is that correct? Did they tell you to leave?
They asked me to leave.
Do you know anything about her car?
No, ma'am. I mean, I didn't do anything to it, but I heard about it.
Why don't you tell me what you heard?
Her friend called my grandmother and told her that Gwen was hurt. Somebody had vandalized her car, and she was all upset to please call her. My grandmother told me, Latoya, Gwen may be hurt. The reason why my grandmother wasn't talking to her is because she took my grandmother to court and tried to sue her for $500 for the paperwork that she did for my brother, which my mom asked her to do.
What do you know about who vandalized her car?
I don't know anything about who vandalized it. That's how I heard it.
Did you vandalize her car?
No.
Miss Morgan, she may have vandalized your car and he may have vandalized your car. You the boyfriend?
Yes.
I don't know. It's possible, but possible doesn't go in court. Do you understand, Miss Morgan? You have to have proof.
Well, he told me that they did it.
Really?
Yes, he told me.
Oh, let me, just a second, step up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Morgan, what did he say to you and when did he say it?
He taunts me all the time.
What did he say?
He said, ha B, that's why we tore your car up. You tried to sue the wrong person, but I tore your car up, me and Latoya tore it up, and they told me over the phone that they was going to tear it up if I didn't come out to fight. And
where were you when he said to you, we tore your car up?
Going down my mother's main cross street. I go over to by my mother sometimes because I know people that live in the area because I've been over there all my life.
Don't make a big story for me. I'm asking you a question. Stop making it up as you're going. When and where were you when he first told you that he tore up your car, madam?
It was on a Sunday 2 weeks ago on the corner by my mother's house on Cypress Street.
I don't believe that, Miss Morgan. I don't believe that he told you 2 weeks ago, this past Sunday, as you were going by your mother's house. I believe that they might have done it. That's not the issue. I believe you just made up that story.
No, he taunts me all the time. He does. Every time he sees me, he teases me, telling me that they tore my car.
Well, then he's not a very nice person. Did you ever do that?
I don't speak to this lady. I do not speak to her at all.
Miss Morgan, when you come to court, unfortunately, you understand you have to have proof. You don't have any proof that your niece tore up your car, and you don't have any proof.
For stealing her dog and other personal belongings.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 523 on the calendar in the matter of Al-Mamani versus Dickerson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Is that your dog?
Yes, it is.
Is that the same dog that you claimed in your complaint that he stole?
Yes, it is.
Well, when'd you get it back?
Friday evening, I found her half a mile from my home. She's been missing since December 18th.
So you found her? Great.
She reappeared on Friday evening.
Good, because according to your complaint, you claim that he said, unless you come home right away, I'm going to steal your dog. You came home the next day, your dog was gone, and some property missing. Did you take her dog?
No.
Do you know what happened to her dog?
She left the gate open.
You think that's what happened?
Yep, and ran out.
Well, but now you got the dog back. Perfect. So what else do we have to talk about today?
Some missing property that Daniel took from me.
What?
He took my CD player, he took my son's electric guitar, and when he threatened to take the dog, he broke my 27-inch TV and my goddess statue and cash.
I did none of that. Her son broke the TV when she was
Put your
gone.
hands down. Put your hands down. CD player.
No, I don't know nothing about that.
Guitar.
One of her son's friends took it, I believe.
What makes you think, Mr. Almonte, that he took the guitar?
He was the only one in my home at the time it disappeared. My son went to school at 6:30 in the morning. Daniel was up early. I got up at 8. The guitar was gone.
And that's the only proof that you have?
Yeah.
What else?
My son saw him bag the dog and take it away.
Well, where's your son?
He admitted that he stole my cash to a police officer.
Let me see. You have a police report?
They didn't file a police report. They just took the complaint, and they were supposed to arrest him. They let him go.
Miss Almonte.
He returned $46.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Oh, who did he return the money to?
Officer returned $46
Is that right,
to give
sir?
to me.
Did you speak to a police officer, Mr. Dickerson?
Yeah,
But you take your hands out of your pockets. Did you speak to a police officer?
Oh, yes, yes.
Now, Mr. Dickerson, don't fiddle around with me, sir. I have limited patience. Do you understand?
Yes.
The dog is now back with her.
Yes.
You took some cash from her house? Look at me. Just answer the question.
Yes.
When did you take the cash and how much?
It was $60, December 15th, maybe.
Could it have been the 17th?
Maybe the 17th.
Good. Now, where did you get the cash from, Mr. Dickerson?
It was on the floor in her bedroom.
Were you living there at the time?
No, I was just staying there.
Were you living there at the time?
No.
So somehow you got into her bedroom and the cash was on the floor. Is that right?
No, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and I stayed the night, and the money was on the floor.
Is that right?
No, it was in my purse, and I asked him to leave, and it was
Just a second.
missing.
Had he spent the night with your permission?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is correct.
Yes.
So you took $60 from the floor.
Yes, it was.
Why did you take the $60 from the floor?
Because I didn't know whose it was, and so I...
Mr. Dickerson, I don't want you to say anything that makes you appear to be foolish. And if you tell me something that's not true, I guarantee you, Mr. Dickerson, I will make you appear very foolish. Do you understand?
Yes.
So let's get to the truth of it. Let's put an end to it, and let's move on.
Okay.
We understand each other?
Yes.
Very good. So let's go back. December 17th.
Okay.
You found money on the floor in her bedroom, correct?
Correct.
You didn't know who it belonged to.
No, ma'am.
You thought it belonged to the tooth fairy. Is that right?
Yes.
So you took it.
Yes.
Now, on what date did police officer speak to you?
He came that night to my house.
Which is a different house from where the money was.
Yes.
And what did you say when he came to your house?
He asked me if I had the money. I said yes. He goes, can you give it back? I said, sure.
And how much did you give back to Officer?
The $60, I believe.
No, you didn't. You gave back only part of it. You spent some of it.
I believe. I can't recall.
Think hard.
I think it was maybe $57 I gave back.
So you spent some of it.
Maybe $3 of it, yes.
Okay. Now, is that the same day as your dog was missing?
She disappeared December 18th, early that morning.
On the 18th. And when did the guitar come up missing?
2 weeks prior.
The guitar was missing 2 weeks before that, Miss Alamani. And then you tell me that on December 17th he slept at your house with your permission? With you. Is that right?
No, he was there alone. He was there with I was not home.
I thought you told me that he was there with your permission on the 17th.
That was December 11th when he stole the cash.
Was
It's
the
December
11th?
11th that he admitted to stealing the cash. The dog was December 17th. He threatened and missing December 18th.
Oh. So it was the 11th that you took the cash, and that's when he was staying there with you.
Yes.
Now, when was the guitars taken?
In that period, right around there. I'm not sure exact date. I just know between 6:30 and 8 a.m.
Was it taken the time the cash was taken, or was it taken the time the dog was taken?
Time the cash was taken, around that
That
time.
was December 11th.
Yes, that's when the call was made to the police.
When you told Officer about the cash, did you also tell him about the CD and the guitar?
Yes.
Did you tell him that they were all taken at the same time, or were they taken at different times?
I reported him missing. I don't think he asked me when.
But the CD and the guitar were taken before the cash was taken.
The CD was later. The CD player?
Yeah.
Later.
Later. What makes you think he took it?
My sons told me that he broke it. He was in my house without my permission. I took it to get it repaired. He took it from that person, they told me. He and his
That's all
girlfriend picked it
hearsay,
up.
Miss Alamani. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. And the cash he returned?
Part of it.
Part of it, except for $3. According to him, it's probably a little bit more. And the dog you got back. Is that right?
I found her Friday afternoon.
Great. All right, she in good shape?
She's had puppies.
She's had puppies? Gee, that's interesting. Was she pregnant when she was taken?
She was in heat. I wasn't going to breed her till she was 2 years old if I wait till she's fully developed.
You know where these puppies are?
I have no
Do
idea.
you know where the puppies are, sir?
I have no idea.
Mr. Dickerson, have you been leaving the plaintiff alone?
Yes.
You have a restraining order against you?
Yes. She keeps on calling me.
Really?
Yes. I got a tape right here.
What does she call you for, sir?
I have no idea. I don't return her calls.
Well, what does she say on the tape?
Will you please call me back? She gives me the phone number and all that. And
What do you call him for?
I called him about if he's appearing on the court and if he got his papers, he was served.
How many times did she call you, sir?
about 8 times
Was it after you were served with papers?
before. She's called me way before the court case was even Before she even filed for the case, she kept on calling me.
But that was after her dog was taken?
I believe so. Well, when she got the restraining order on me when we went to court.
When did you get the restraining order?
The permanent 3 years, January 21st, but the temporary was filed, granted January 8th.
Can I see those papers, please?
Yes.
Mr. Dickerson, have you ever been incarcerated, sir?
Yes.
When was the last time you were incarcerated?
About 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
For what?
Fighting.
Prior to that?
It was for being in a stolen car with a friend that he had keys to. I didn't know it was stolen.
So you were a passenger in a stolen car?
Yeah.
According to this, 2 birds were killed. What kind of birds were killed?
Parakeets, I paid $20 each for them.
What do you mean they were killed?
I kicked him out one night in December around this time, and the first bird disappeared and there was feathers all over the place. I heard the cage crash. There was 4 birds, 2 females, 2 males. The day before the final restraining order, someone broke into my house, cut my other bird's head off, and flattened my tire.
You didn't have anything to do with that, did you?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Dickerson?
No, ma'am.
How long were you the plaintiff's boyfriend?
2.5 months, 3 months.
Prior to that, did you have a girlfriend?
No.
Have you ever been married?
No.
What did you have to hesitate for?
Well, I was planning, because I was in the service, and I was planning on getting married, but we never did.
She doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Courts take domestic violence and stalking very seriously, sir.
Well, I got tapes that she keeps on calling me.
Do you mean she keeps calling you, inviting you over?
She just wants me to call her for some reason. I have no idea.
Maybe she wants her dog back, sir.
I don't know. I didn't take the dogs.
Let me hear. Yes, you did.
10th, February 17th at 9:39 p.m. Yeah, this message is for Danny. I need you to call me back. Thanks. 10th, February 24th at 4:46 p.m. Hey, Danny. Tracy, why don't you give me a call at your earliest convenience? Thanks. 10th, February 25th at 7:17 p.m. Hey, Danny, it's Tracy. If you want to call me back, it's in time, yes. 21:44. Bye.
That was it.
That's 3 calls.
That's all I have. I recorded.
Why did you call him those 3 times, Tracy?
I was calling about the dog and also to see if he's appearing on the court.
I want you to listen to me very carefully. February 17th was 2 months after your dog turned up missing. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's not the reason for your telephone call. You called him on the 17th, the 24th, and the 25th. The reason you say is because you want to know if he was coming to court. You cannot send mixed signals. Do you understand? From what I read in these reports, if what you say here is true, he's psychotic. Anybody who comes into your house, kills your animals, because that's what you said he did, right? He came into your house, he cut the head off your bird, right? That's psychotic. That is psychotic behavior. You don't have lapses where you say, well, maybe it wasn't him, and maybe he's not so bad, I'll call him. Do you understand?
Yeah, I'm not.
If you have a restraining order, that means he's not supposed to have any contact with you. You don't initiate any contact with him. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today.
There's a difference between a shirt, sir, and a $400-some-odd CD player, don't you think?
No.
You don't?
A gift is a gift.
Really? Not if I don't find it's a gift, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tracy Almamani says ex-boyfriend Daniel Dickerson is a stalker. She claims Daniel chopped off the head of her pet bird.
If what you say in here is true, you don't want to have anything to do with him. The main thrust of your complaint was the dog, which has been resolved.
Yes.
Stay away from him. Don't call him. Don't contact him. Do you understand? Because if this is true,
I won't
he's
contact him.
mentally ill. If it's not true, then he's not. But if it's true, he really has to get help because he's very sick. You understand that, sir?
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
You understand that anybody who would take out their anger and frustration by cutting the head off of a bird is a very sick person. You do understand.
I don't know who would do that.
I don't know who would do that either. somebody who's very sick and requires help,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And if that person didn't get help, that person would be a #1 jerk. Is that right?
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed because you got your dog back. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I like the outcome.
I'm happy that I got my dog back.
Because she keeps on calling me.
I don't want to be a part of his life. I will not call him ever again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peterson versus Parker. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Lauren Peterson is suing her former lover, 24-year-old insurance adjuster Christopher Parker, for an unpaid loan to buy a CD player. Christopher claims it was a graduation present.
Miss Peterson, you claim that the defendant owes you for a loan, it's about a year old, for a CD player for his car. You and the defendant know each other for a long time from college, but only briefly dated, according to you.
Yes.
Mr. Parker says you did, in fact, put the CD player that he wanted for his car on your credit card, but that it was a graduation present. That's your defense. Is that right, sir? How long did you date Miss Peterson, Mr. Parker?
Somewhere around 6 weeks. Not very long.
From when to when?
I want to say right before Christmas until probably a little after January.
And you graduated from college at that time, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And tell me about this gift that she purchased for you. When did she purchase it? Where were you? How did she know you wanted it?
She purchased it, I guess, during January. It's been a while. I don't quite remember.
If you don't remember, then I'm going to have to ask her.
Okay.
He asked me to borrow it the last week in January, asked me to borrow money for the CD player. He actually ordered it himself online and used my credit card number.
Where was he when he purchased it? At your house or at his house?
At his house. We never lived together.
So were you at his house when he...
No, ma'am. I was in college, which is an hour away from...
So he called you on the phone?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation.
He had been looking at CD players to put in his newly purchased car, and he found one that he liked, which had a limited availability. So he was talking about it for a day or two, and then he asked me if he could borrow the money. And I said, because he asked me if he could borrow the money, that was the only reason I was loaning him the money, and I would expect repayment when he got a job.
Go ahead.
It did happen like that, except for I didn't ask to borrow it. She said since I had graduated, she'd go ahead and pay for it.
Well, just a second. You called her at her house?
Well, we were talking on the phone, and I was telling her what I'd found.
Well, tell me about the conversation now that you remember it better.
What do you mean? Oh,
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean?
we were talking on the telephone, and because I had DSL, so I had the internet connection already. So I was telling her what I had found on there, and she said, go ahead and order it. She'd pay for it.
You're talking to her on the phone, and you're playing with your computer at the same time.
That's correct.
Right? I hate when people do that. So you're talking to her on the phone, and you're playing with your computer, and you found this CD player that you wanted for your car. While you're talking to her on the phone, you said, I found the CD player that I want, right? Would you like to buy it for me as a gift? I mean, how did that, I really want to
know how it came about. It says, like she said, there was limited availability, and at the current time, I didn't have a job, so she offered to buy it.
Tell me, don't say she offered to buy it, because that's not what people usually say to each other. I'm offering to buy this to you.
Well, she just said that she would pay for it.
And?
So I said, okay.
How much after that did you stop seeing each other?
I don't recall.
I do.
Go ahead.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
February 13th.
And what happened to your relationship with Miss Peterson within 2 weeks of purchasing this CD player?
I just decided that I didn't want to see her anymore, and so I broke up with her, told her I didn't want to talk to her, and she kept harassing me.
Well, first of all, Miss Peterson, let's start with this. I don't know what you see in him, or what you saw in him. Whatever it is, I don't see it. Let's start from that. Right, and maybe my eyes are getting old, but I don't see it. Visually, I don't see it. Now, maybe there's a character thing there, or something else. Animal sensuality, I don't see that either. So maybe we're talking character.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I certainly don't see good character, because if within 2 weeks he decides that he doesn't want to see you anymore, the nice thing would be to pay her back for the CD player. Wouldn't that be the nice thing?
Well, she also bought this shirt.
Mr. Peterson,
Do I need to pay her back
wouldn't
for
that be the nice thing? There's a difference between a shirt, sir, and a $400-some-odd CD player, don't you think?
No.
You don't?
A gift is a gift.
Really? Not if I don't find it's a gift, sir. Because according to you, when we started this case, you said, I don't actually remember. Well, Miss Peterson remembered very clearly. Miss Peterson said she remembered that you said, I found this thing. It's got limited availability. If I want it, I have to have it now. I don't have the money. Can you advance me the money? I need your credit card number. And I find that you made an agreement to pay her back. That's what I find. How much does he owe you?
Well, this is the total inclusive is $351.46, but he owes me other items.
What?
That several CDs of mine, an Ethernet cable, and negatives to photographs.
Your case has to do with a CD player,
right.
Not a kitchen sink.
Okay.
Not everything under the sun. $351.46.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay that amount in one lump sum?
Yes, ma'am.
So that you didn't have any finance charges, is that right?
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $351.46. Ms. Peterson, be smart. Don't give anybody, ever, your credit card.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, nobody. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. Order. All rise. Now this is case number 545 on the calendar in the matter of Flick versus Flick. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mrs. Flick, the defendant is your soon-to-be former daughter-in-law.
Yes.
Currently married to your son, but I assume that you're in the process of divorcing. Is that right?
Yes.
It is your claim that she owes you money for two things. First, some hockey tickets that you paid for that were never delivered. And second, some slashed tires in a car that your son was driving and that you claim the defendant vandalized on two separate occasions. How long have they been married?
They've been married since August 13th of 2002.
When did you give her the money for these tickets, these hockey tickets, and why?
In October, they went to a Minnesota Wild, Detroit Red Wings hockey game, and my son is a Detroit Red Wings fan. My son's birthday was in March. He said he wanted to go back. Michaela has had an arrangement with her employer where he would buy hockey tickets and give them to her at cost. These were extremely good seats, but they were still $70 a piece. I agreed because it's my son's birthday to purchase 6 tickets.
Just a second. You agreed with whom?
Michaela.
And you said 6 tickets?
6 tickets.
And who was supposed to go?
Michaela and David, my son David.
Which is David? Raise your hand, David. Okay.
Myself and a friend of mine, my son Neil and his girlfriend.
Okay. So, did you send Michaela a check?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that check?
I have a check. It's not made out to her. She asked because the money was going to be deducted from her paycheck, that was money she needed to pay rent. She asked me to make it out to the place she was living at the time.
Is that right so far?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened?
My employer took the money out of my check, and he was going to get the hockey tickets for me. It was taking a long time, and Charlotte was concerned about her not really getting the tickets because her son has done things where he hasn't exactly been honest with her and took money from her before. So during this time, he wanted to start up a home-based business, a web design company. And so December 8th, we went out to Walmart. He bought a whole bunch of stuff, a computer printer, a scanner, ink cartridges.
He bought a lot of stuff, yes.
A lot of stuff. And he took that money.
What money?
The $420. That's what he bought that stuff with.
He can't take the money. The check wasn't made out to him. It was made out to the rental company in October 28th. He can't take this money.
I got the money back from my employer. The employer gave me the money back.
Show me.
I don't have anything
This wasn't,
to show that.
listen to me. So what you're telling me, this is your defense, your employer gave you back the money that he had taken out of your pay to buy the tickets so that you could take your husband shopping for something else.
Yes.
You still owe her the money.
Okay.
Do you understand why? No, but I'm going to explain to you why.
Okay.
You had a contract, verbal, with her. Your contract with her was, I will send you $420 and you will purchase these tickets. You cannot unilaterally modify the terms of that contract by contracting with somebody else, even your husband. Aside from the fact that I have a feeling if I ask your husband whether you took the money back from your employer,
He's not going to tell you.
He would say no. Is that right?
Correct.
Right, because you're lying. That's just a lot of who shot John that you're giving me. All right, now let's get to the tire slashing. I just wanted to try to figure out what kind of person you are. Okay? Now here we go. So then we go to the tire slashing.
The first one was January 27th.
Of 2003?
Of 2003. And the second one was February 13th of 2003.
Who saw the incident of the 27th of January, 2003?
My son, Neil. Neil, would you come up, please?
Neil, your last name is Flick?
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me.
Okay, it was about 11:15 at night. I was actually waiting for my girlfriend to come over because we kind of go out at night. And I saw my brother and his friend Neil Truitt, who's right there, waiting in a car. They proceeded to leave to go out on their own. And as I was watching, I noticed a celebrity, or it looked like a celebrity as I saw it, by my brother's car.
So they weren't driving your brother's car, they were driving a different car?
Neil was driving his Buick Regal. I saw her car, which was a celebrity, by my brother's car.
Your brother's car was parked?
Yes, it was parked on the street outside of our house. Excuse me.
Okay, go ahead.
And I didn't actually see her slash the tires. I see her actually enter her car, slam the door, and drive down the street.
And this was about 11:15 at night?
Yes, 11:15.
The other witness to that event was Neil Truitt, who was in the car with my son David at the time.
But he didn't see anything?
No, but he was on the phone with her, and she gave him a play-by-play description of what she was doing.
Oh, really? Okay, Mr. Truitt, tell me what happened on the 27th, sir.
See, I just went and purchased a car, so me and Dave were just going to go out driving. And I would say about a half hour after we had been driving around, I had received a call from Kayla, who I was also friends with at the time, and she heard that he was in the car with me. So she said something nasty about him. He said something nasty about her. She managed, I guess, to hear that, and by the way she was talking, it sounded like she might have been inebriated. She was like, well, you know, heck with it, you know, I'm going to go slash his tires, and hangs up. Well, that's why we had went back to his house, because he thought that she was going to really do it. I didn't think she was going to do it. But we stopped by anyway, and we waited just to make sure that she wasn't going to show up. She never showed up, so we left. And she'd called me up about 5 to 10 minutes after we had left. And she goes, well, I'm here now. And I said, where are you? She goes, well, I'm right here, next to Dave's car. And so she goes...
Did she say I'm right next to Dave's car?
She said I'm at the house. So
I'm
I'm
at the house.
assuming.
Well, don't make it up
Okay.
as you're going along. I want to hear exactly what she said to you, sir.
Okay. Apologize. She goes, well, here goes the first one. And you could hear a thud. And she goes, here goes the second one. And then you hear another thud. And she says, okay, I feel better now. And then she hung up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Within 5 years, could you tell me how old you are?
Around 50.
I'm just thinking about how old I am. I'm also somewhere around 50.
And later today,
She was coming closer towards me. I put my arms up in a defense mode.
She was in my face, and she pushed me down into the bushes. I fell flat on my back and hit my head on the cement surrounding the parking lot.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlotte Flick says her estranged daughter-in-law, Michaela Flick, owes for hockey tickets and for slashing her tires. Michaela says Charlotte is seeking revenge on behalf of her son.
Go ahead.
The only reason that all this stuff is going on is
I
because
don't
on
care about the
December
reason.
8th.
Shh, listen to me. I don't care about what you perceive to be the reason. I care about whether you slashed your husband's tires. The answer is either I did,
I didn't,
or I didn't.
I had just got back in town that night about 10 o'clock p.m. from Minnesota. It was Super Bowl weekend. And I was in the process all night moving from my residence to my mother's house. The second night, I got it.
I didn't get to the second night yet. Can you think of any reason why Mr. Truitt would make up this story?
Yes, I can.
I'll
December
hear you.
8th, me and my husband got in a domestic violent dispute where he pushed me and was in mid-swing of a punch where I broke a beer bottle upside his head. We were both arrested for
Yeah.
domestic violence.
Yes.
His mother bailed him out. I don't know why, because he's kicked her teeth in before. He has a history of violence. I found out that Neil, after this incident, my best friend of 7 years, was hanging out with Dave. Dave has a coke problem. I was getting on Neil's butt, wondering if he was into that now because he's my best friend and I care about him. Dave has a history of violence and a history of lying. He's done it his whole life. He's ran people over with cars. His little brother had to pry him off me while he was strangling me one time.
So it's the same. So it's the
Okay.
And based upon what you're telling me, his brother's testimony is false as well for the same reason.
Yeah, I was not at that house.
For the same reason. And you can't think of anyone else who might slash his tires. Let me ask you this question. Prior to December of 2002, how many times had the tires been slashed on your car?
None.
Never?
Never.
And within 5 years, can you tell me how old you are?
Around 50.
Good. So in 50 years, nobody has ever slashed your tires. I'm just thinking about how old I am. I'm also somewhere around 50. And I, for many, many years, lived in New York City. Nobody ever slashed my tires. Now I'm going to ask you the same question. I know how old you are.
Then it ain't necessary to be said, right?
Yeah. No. That's not necessary. How many times did you have your tires slashed on your car?
Never.
Never?
Never.
So isn't it sort of coincidental that probably we have 100 years over here?
Mm-hmm.
And only after this domestic violence dispute that you had with your soon-to-be former husband do her tires get slashed, not once, but 2 times. Isn't that coincidental?
No.
Well, you may not like the coincidence, but if you understood what the word meant, you would understand that it is coincidental. It is coincidental. You may not like the ramifications of it, but the word that you would use under those circumstances, madam, is coincidental. Let me hear about February 13th, please.
February 13th, which we kind of expected something to happen. That would have been their 6-month anniversary. David went out and got into his car and found out that his tires were slashed at that time. About 5 minutes later, he got a phone call from Michaela.
Well, then I don't want you to tell me about that. He will have to tell me about that. Stand up. Go ahead.
I went out to my car after I was hanging out with a couple of my friends that night, and I got in my car, drove about half a block before both my tires went flat. And I got back home, called the police, and after maybe about 20-25 minutes, she called and just tried to make small talk to basically get me riled up, I would assume.
But she didn't say anything about your tires.
She didn't say anything about the tires, but...
Okay, fine. Get over it.
Okay.
Get over it. You're supposed to act like grown-up, Miss Flick.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
21.
This is your first marriage?
Yes.
You don't celebrate your 6-month anniversary with your soon-to-be ex-husband by slashing his tires.
I was in the bar all night.
Right.
With my brother, who's right here.
Was she there, as she said?
Yes.
Right. Sure she was. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $621.24. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Michaela has a history of probably 20 destruction of properties.
No, I have 2 destruction of properties, and they're not.
Marcia Lambert claims her mother's neighbor, Tammy Kedward, owes for spray painting vulgarities onto her car and punching her in the face. Tammy claims Marcia was sleeping with her husband. She is countersuing for emotional distress.
Miss Lambert, you were having a romantic relationship with the defendant's husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this was the husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
This was about a year ago?
A little over a year, yes, ma'am.
Miss Kedward lost it with you one day, came to where you were staying, and assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
She admits that she assaulted you. She also admits that she pled guilty to a simple assault, and she received a fine. Her defense to your action for damages for both your medical bills and your pain and suffering is that you weren't injured. She is counterclaiming for her medical bills, she says, because you've caused her a lot of stress. When did you meet Miss Kedward's husband?
About July 9th of 2005.
Where?
At my mother's house.
What relationship does he have with your mother?
They're the next-door neighbors to my mom.
Were they both living together at the time?
Yes, they were.
Well, when did you start a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
After he told me that he had asked Tammy for a divorce.
But they were still together?
Sort of, kind of.
They were still living under the same roof?
Yes.
Big mistake on your part. Big. When did you start the relationship?
What exact date?
Yeah.
That it turned romantic?
Yes.
Was August 28th of 2005.
So it didn't take long. Now, when did Miss Kedward assault you?
On August 31st.
Tell me about it.
I was over visiting my mother. My car was parked in the back driveway. She came over and spray painted my car with some obscenities and bright orange paint. I saw her do it. We went back inside to call the police. She knocked on the front door, asked me to come outside. My mother came outside with me. She was yelling all kinds of profanities, and
That's not true.
And I was standing between her and my mother tried to explain some stuff to her, and I was looking at my mother. She reached over, grabbed the back of my hair, yanked, jumped on top of me, punched me, blood went everywhere. Meanwhile,
punched you where?
In the nose, and then punched me again in the cheek. Meanwhile, my mother managed to pull her off of me, and my 82-year-old grandmother was standing on the porch calling the police.
And you were arrested?
No.
Taken into custody?
No.
Did you press charges?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Ms. Kedwin, why don't you tell me what happened on the 31st of August?
I drove up from work. I got out of the car, and she came out of her mother's house and said
That is a
something.
lie, Your Honor.
Listen to me. I cut her off when she interrupted you. Don't speak until she's finished. Go ahead.
I got out of the car, and she came out of the front door and said something that I didn't understand what it was that she said. Nevertheless, she said something. And I just went inside, and I called my husband, told my husband that she was saying something to me.
But you didn't know what?
I didn't know what. It was
well,
something.
Why would you, just a second, Ms. Kedwood, why would you call your husband if she said something that you didn't understand?
Because I had found out 3 days prior that there was something going on between them.
Okay, did you confront your husband with it?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me the truth. He told me that they were having a relationship, but that it was more as a friend relationship, that he didn't say that it was not intimate. He just told me that basically they had been doing a lot of talking on the phone.
So when you came home on the 31st and you claimed Miss Lampert said something to you, called your husband, and your husband said what?
He said, look, I don't know what's going on. Why don't you just go over there and talk to her about it, and y'all figure it out, and then you call me.
Is that what you said to her? Why don't you just go over there and ask her? Just that's either a yes or no.
Yes.
That was the first time that I ever thought of going over there.
So your cheating husband tells you to go over to the woman's house and to talk it out with her.
Yes.
And you'd listen to him.
Well, it's not that I listened to him. It's more that I thought, go over there. Sounds like a great idea. Why don't I just go over there and find out exactly what she said? And it was probably not the greatest decision in the world, but
well, first thing that you did, you went over and you sprayed her car, because that you paid for, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you painted her car before you went to ask her.
Correct.
What she had said that you didn't hear.
Right.
And then what happened?
I went over and
you sprayed her car.
I sprayed her car, went back inside and...
Back inside where?
My house.
What happened to speaking to her and about finding out what happened?
That was after.
So then you came out again, worked up a really good mad.
I was infuriated, to say the least.
Fine. So you came out.
I had asked her numerous times, very nicely, please leave my husband alone.
Why didn't you ask him?
I asked him.
So, and what did he say?
She was the instigator.
Stand up. How tall are you?
6'3".
How much do you weigh?
260.
What do you do for a living?
Mechanic.
Strong?
I guess so.
Can you walk around?
Yes.
You can walk away from her, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Get what I mean? Shh. Get what I mean?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And
yeah, listen. There's only one person that owes you the responsibility and the respect and has taken a vow.
You're exactly right.
That's him.
You're right.
Not her.
I felt like if she had any compassion or any feeling, that she would have backed off and she would have had respect, at least for my child.
He's supposed to have respect for your child.
I understand that. I truly believe that he did make a bad decision.
Right. But so why did you go over? So you went over there, you assaulted her, and you lost it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, then you have to suffer for that. Okay, Ms. Kedwin, what kind of consequence did the criminal justice system impose when you pled guilty to assault?
I had a fine of $341 and a Class C misdemeanor.
Tell me about the surgery that you had 3 months later.
I had actually 2 surgeries to try to correct. I was having trouble breathing through the right side of my nose.
Can I see the medical report?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
She told my husband, he asked her the next day after the assault, are you okay? And she told him, it's no big deal. The same thing happened to me about a year ago when a girl hit me in a bar.
Okay.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second. Let's say that's true. What difference does it make?
So what's to say if she had any surgeries that it wasn't to correct what had happened then?
It's possible it was. That doesn't leave you. That doesn't. Shh, quiet. That doesn't let you off the hook.
I understand.
She doesn't have to sue for any medical expenses. She can just sue for pain and suffering.
I understand.
Good. Okay, so the first study date in the emergency room was September 1st, and it did say previous surgical changes are noted. Okay, so you had previous surgeries in your nose. Is that right?
From 92.
Okay, good. Now, after this happened on August 31st, did you continue a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
Yes, I did.
For how long?
It actually ended August 1st of 2006.
I don't think that's true, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
that's a bunch of bull.
No, you were at my mother's house.
Shh, listen to me. Whether it lasted 9 months or 10 months or 12 months, it doesn't make any difference. It lasted beyond that. Was Mr. Kedward living with his wife during that time?
He went back to her the end of November of 2005.
Okay, but you continued the relationship with him months after that.
Right.
Not smart. What was he telling you all this time?
Just that he wasn't sure what he wanted and that they had a lot to work out if it was going to work and that he still loved me and he always would.
Well, Miss Lambert, why did you continue the relationship with him, madam?
It's not the first time she's done this. I'm sorry.
Takes two to tango.
Yes, ma'am.
His feet work in both directions. If he's back with you and sweet-talking her, that's not a good thing.
The thing about it is, Your Honor, you say I'm strong physically. I'm assuming that's what you're asking. You know, what about mentally when you have a woman like this calling you all the time and not leaving you alone? Yay. Hey.
You don't really want an answer to that question, sir.
Well.
You don't want an answer to that question, Mr. Kedward.
When I asked Miss Lambert to leave my husband alone, my words to her were, for God's sakes, Marcia, I live next door to your mother. Please just stop.
She used very bad judgment.
She told me that she would be living next door to her mother.
Miss Kedward.
That's a lie.
She used very bad judgment, especially after he came home in November.
He never really left home.
Don't tell me he never really left home. Stop me seasick. Still.
Yes, ma'am.
He exercised very bad judgment. What he's trying to tell me is he may be strong physically, but mentally he's mush. That's just an excuse. What he's trying to say is, how can I withstand the wiles of Jezebel? That's ridiculous. If
That
you
was
bought it,
not what I
quiet.
was saying.
Quiet. There are all kinds of temptations in this world, madam. And you hope that when you marry somebody, that they're going to be able to withstand the temptations. And if they can't, it's their fault. It's not somebody else's fault. In any event, she's suing you for $4,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That, she said, represents her medical bills. You are clearly responsible for that. I want to hear about your counterclaim. You have 1 minute.
I went to the hospital that night and was in the hospital for 2 days following. I was extremely stressed out over the whole situation. I asked her repeatedly to leave my husband alone. She told me she would do what she wanted to do, when she wanted to do it, and I lost it. And I have to admit that
I'm talking about your
I went to the
counterclaim.
hospital and I was there for 2 days because of the immense stress that this, I don't even want to call her a woman, has put me through, that she continues to put me through to
What
this
about
day.
him? Why don't you sue him?
I married him for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in front of God, in front of all of our friends, and it's my choice to forgive him, and we have been through counseling.
Perfect. Listen to me. He's the one that owes you the responsibility of
And
doing
he's
the right
paid
thing.
me.
Doesn't she owe us to leave us alone?
I have. Excuse me?
Excuse me? Outside. Put him out.
Come on.
Can I add
I'm
one
gonna-
thing?
Yeah, sure.
I was under so much stress from the immoral actions of this person that I suffered a miscarriage. My child has had to be in counseling. I have had a lot of issues because of her, and to this day.
Because of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of them.
She instigated it.
Because you don't get it. You have to put it in your head. He owes you the responsibility of doing the right thing. She doesn't. He has a contract with you, moral contract and a legal contract. He violated the contract. And I would have very little sense of an obligation to mitigate your damages if Miss Lambert did not continue the relationship after November, when she knew that the two of you were trying to work things out. Miss Lampert fully understood that. From November until, she says, August of 2006, she continued a relationship with him. That's going to hurt you, Miss Lampert, because then you knew that what you were doing was interfering with a relationship, and there is a cause of action. It's a cause of action in common law called alienation of affection. That means you are contributing to alienating the affection of her husband, and you know what that's going to cost you? $4,000. So I rule in your favor on your lawsuit in the amount of $4,000. And I rule in your favor on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,000. Neither one of you are getting anything. That's it. Goodbye.
Tricia Thomas and her fiancé Wesley McMillan are suing former friend Billy Chrisley for causing them to be ticketed for the possession of marijuana.
According to what I read, you were traveling in two cars, leaving Texas on your way to Arkansas because of Hurricane Rita.
Yes, ma'am.
You were traveling behind Miss Thomas.
Yes, ma'am.
In the car that you were traveling in was Mr. McMillan, one of Miss Thomas's children.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Thomas was traveling in front of you, and in your car was another one of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chrisley, you were pulled over by the police.
Yes, ma'am.
For tailgating.
Yes, ma'am.
What did the policeman say to you?
Well, he pulled me over for tailgating. That's what he told me he pulled me over for.
In what state were you when you
In
got
Oklahoma.
pulled? Oklahoma.
We were on our way back.
Go ahead.
So he pulled us over. He asked me for my license, registration, and all that for the car. And I told him I didn't have my license, and I just got the car, so I didn't have no insurance, no registration, no nothing on it, because I just got it.
Well, what about your license?
It was expired, and I still had to leave to go to Arkansas, and I just drove back, you know.
Could we move on, please? What else did the police officer say to you?
So he ran my record and everything else. Then he asked me if I had anything, and I told him yes. And so he went back to
Well, you said yes, and he said, what?
No, we just went back to my car. I gave him what I had.
Well, what did you have?
I just had maybe a joint and a half.
Of marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you have it?
In my center console.
Where'd you get it from?
I brought it from home.
Had you used it while you were in Arkansas?
Yes, ma'am.
And you only had a little bit left?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, so now, against that backdrop, Officer Byrd, the police officer gave him a ticket and also gave Mr. McMillan a ticket, because under the laws in the state of Oklahoma, if there's marijuana or drugs in the car, everybody's responsible. So everybody gets a ticket. So Mr. McMillan got a ticket, and Miss Thomas over here had to pay the ticket, or else she was leaving Mr. McMillan in Oklahoma. And she wanted him home, because it looks to me as if you're expecting.
Yes, ma'am.
How wonderful.
Tricia Thomas and fiancé Wesley McMillan say former friend Billy Chrisley caused them to be cited for possession of marijuana.
So since you had to come up with this money because of his personal use of marijuana, you really feel as if he should take care of the ticket.
Correct. I don't think I should, because I already admitted up to my own stuff.
Well, why is it his fault?
Well, I don't see why the cop gave him a ticket for my stuff. I already gave it to him.
Because that's the law. I haven't seen that law, but I must assume in Oklahoma, if you are an adult and you are apprehended or stopped in a car and there is contraband, you know what that is? You know, bad stuff. Contraband?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody in the car is responsible.
Okay.
That's the law. So your suggestion that he sue the cop really doesn't make sense. Now, if you said to me, look, he shared the marijuana with me, he smoked the marijuana in Arkansas, he knew it was there because we both used it together.
Well, we did.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, where did you do that?
While we were up there.
In Arkansas?
Yes, ma'am.
Really? You sure?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. McMillan.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I've been clean from every drug and alcohol for over 6 months and still going.
Well, sometimes there's a little bit of stress, Mr. McMillan, when you're escaping a hurricane.
Nope.
Because of the stress, he started smoking cigarettes again.
That was it.
Where were you in Arkansas, sir, when he was smoking this marijuana with you?
We were at the person's house that we were staying at. We just walked around the woods.
No, ma'am. The only time that me and Mr. Chrisley ever took a walk, we went to the woods. There was nothing ever done. We ran down the side of a mountain and came back up, and that was it.
Now, when was your license suspended?
It was suspended in about think 2002.
For what?
My dad gave me the keys to his truck so to give back to my mom. And when the cop pulled me over, they searched me, and all I had in there was, I had a 12-pack, but there was only 6 of them left. But when they searched the truck, they found a little baby roach that was in a film case that was in the truck, which I didn't know was there.
More drugs and alcohol.
Well, the alcohol was mine.
Was inside your belly, inside your little tummy, 6-pack?
Yes.
So you lost your license because of drugs and alcohol?
No, it was just the drugs. They didn't charge me with alcohol.
Just the drugs. How'd you come up with the $940 to pay your ticket?
My ticket was $1,261.
Well, how'd you come up with $1,261
I had to borrow it from my mom, and I'm still paying her back. They had to use their house note to pay for that fine. And by the time it added all up, it was $1,343.
You want to know something?
Yes, ma'am.
I believe him. I believe that Mr. McMillan knew that he had marijuana.
I didn't know he had it in the car.
I know you didn't, but Mr. McMillan did, and I believe he used it with him. Now, that certainly would indicate to me that he bore some responsibility for this marijuana being in the car. So I suggest you get your money from him. And while the defendant acknowledges that this was his marijuana, everything else he's told me, I believe. He's not making up this stuff because he's certainly not making himself look too good, right? You understand that I don't think you look like a model citizen.
Which I know I'm not.
We know you're not.
Yes, ma'am.
But I believe you when you say that he was smoking marijuana with you in Arkansas. You are telling me the truth, aren't you, sir? I believe you. So that being the case, Mr. McMillan, you pay your own ticket, and I suggest you reimburse your fiancé for the ticket. You knew the stuff was there. You enjoyed it while you were in Arkansas. You got to pay the piper. Case dismissed. That's all.
56-year-old Candace Harris is suing her ex-boyfriend, 32-year-old Frank Boswell, for an unpaid loan and for trading in a Camaro that didn't belong to him. Candace claims Frank is a scammer.
Ms. Harris, you met the defendant online. Is that how you met him?
Correct, Your Honor.
And according to what I read, you began a relationship with him, and at some point, according to you, you let him borrow a car that you had that you weren't using.
Correct.
And he had the car for many months. The relationship soured. You went to get the car and found out that Mr. Boswell had forged your name to the title of the car and either sold or traded it in for something else.
That's correct.
You also claim that you loaned him some money before this in 2005, and I'm telling you right now, Ms. Harris, I'm not entertaining that. Because according to what you said in your complaint, you sent him this money with the understanding that when he got back on his feet, he would pay you back.
Correct.
That's what you said. Mr. Boswell is going to tell me he never got back on his feet. That's not a loan. It has to be objective, not subjective. Mr. Boswell will tell some people he's on his feet and tell other people that he's not on his feet. Do you have children, sir?
Yes, I do.
How many?
1.
That child live with you?
No.
You pay child support?
Yes.
As much as the mother of that child wants?
No.
Right. Because you're not really on your feet. See what I mean? Things are very predictable in this life. I could have written this script before I even asked him a question. Now, when did you let Mr. Boswell borrow your car?
He came to see me on September 29th in 2005. It was at my house for many months being unused.
So you let Mr. Boswell borrow it. What was the arrangement?
The arrangement was that he would use my car. He was trying to get his career started in music, rap business, and it would be a nice car for him to drive with a little bit more prestige maybe than what the vans he had. And we never discussed when I would get it back. However, in March...
After he got on his feet.
Yes. In March, I discovered there was other women involved in his life besides me who were also helping him out financially till he got on his feet.
I could have also told you that.
Yes, ma'am. And it escalated to the point where more and more women started showing up. On June 20th was when he sold the car. I have the documents here that show
Now,
that it was...
Mr. Boswell, how much did you sell the car for, sir?
I actually didn't sell the car. I traded the car.
How much did they give you for it?
They just traded me another car straight across.
Really?
Yeah,
But you forged her name to the title.
I did that.
You can't do that, Mr. Boswell.
Why would someone give me a car and give me the title if they loaned it to me?
Who paid for the insurance?
She did.
And whose name was the insurance in?
Isn't it hers?
You got my message? It's her car. If she meant to pass title to you, she would have signed the title over to you, and then you would have insured the car in your name.
Then why,
Now!
Then why did she give me the title in
Are
the
you
first place?
asking me a question, smarty pants?
Yes,
Don't you
I am.
ask me a question, sir. I ask the questions, you give the answers. I want to tell you, you may find a lot of women that find you attractive. I am not one of them.
No. I can dig that.
I'm glad you can. What kind of car do you have now?
1990 Lexus LS400.
How many miles did it have on it when you took
276.
it? 276
Yes.
miles? Is that your car?
No,
ma'am.
her car.
My car
her car was a Camaro.
It had 126,000 miles. It was a 95 Camaro.
When I traded it, it had 143,000 miles on it.
What's the blue book value of your car, madam?
It is, Your Honor. It's $4,025.
Is that in good, fair?
That's the medium. It's in the good condition.
Okay. Now, Miss Harris, you seem like an intelligent lady.
I would hope so.
You know the old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck? Did you ever hear that expression?
Yes, ma'am.
If it walks like a deadbeat and looks like a deadbeat, it's a deadbeat. You're supposed to know the difference at your stage in life.
Correct.
Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all.
18-year-old Monica Vasquez claims ex-boyfriend Lendon Trujillo owes for kicking her car and smashing it with trash cans. Monica also claims Lendon destroyed her cell phone.
You are?
Lydia Calderon, Monica's mother.
Okay, but you don't know anything about this case particularly, do you?
No.
Except that the car belonged to you.
Belongs to both of us.
Are you both on the title?
Yes.
Why don't you sit down for a moment? You're Monica?
Yes.
This was your boyfriend?
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
For about 3 years.
Monica, you say that he broke your cell phone and vandalized your car.
Yes.
He says he didn't do it. So tell me when he vandalized your car.
It was like about 1:30, and he showed up at my house.
1:30
in the
on what
morning.
On what date?
July 28th.
Where were you?
I was at home.
Who else was at home?
My sister.
It was 1:30 a.m. Do you live with your sister?
Yes, I do.
What does your sister do for a living?
She works at Premier Real Estate. She's
And
a
what do you do?
receptionist.
What do you do?
I'm a cashier.
Where?
At Rite Aid.
How long have you been working there?
In October, it'll be a year.
Mr. Trujillo,
Yes.
what do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a tattoo artist.
You work for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
What does that mean?
I'm not working at a shop right now.
So where do you work from?
Out of my house.
Are you licensed?
No.
Do you have to be licensed where you live?
No.
Where do you live?
I live in California.
And in California, you don't need a license to give somebody a tattoo with
No,
a
you
needle?
don't.
That's a big mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you need a license to give somebody a pedicure,
Yeah.
but not to give somebody a tattoo.
No.
You
Not.
sure about that?
I'm positive about that.
Anyway, you make a living at this?
Yeah.
Well, especially since you have no overhead.
What's that? No. What? No. What? No.
Overhead.
Overhead. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was over my head. Sorry.
Unfortunately, Mr. Trujillo, that was true.
Right. Sorry about that.
All right, Miss Vasquez, why don't you tell me about what happened on the 28th of July?
Okay, he showed up at my house, and he knocked on my window. I came out of my room, and I went to the garage, because he went around the house. And I had told him to leave, because my sister did not want him around her house.
Why did he come there?
He
said you called him.
No, I did not call him.
You say in your papers, sir, that you went over to the house at 1:30 on July 28th because she called you.
Yeah, we had been talking.
No. Because she called you on July 28th. That's
Okay.
why you said you went over there, right?
Right.
And how did she call you? On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Do you have your cell phone records?
No. I'm sure if I went and got them, I could bring them back to you. I mean, if you wanted to, another
We
date
don't
or
do
something.
do-overs here, Mr. Trujillo. What we do is, when you're coming to court, you're supposed to be prepared. You know what it's like, Mr. Trujillo? You do tattooing
Yeah.
in your house.
Right.
Let's say you made an appointment with somebody who's going to get a really big tattoo. They were going to pay a whole lot of money
Yeah.
for the tattoo. And let's say they arrived and they sat down for you to do the tattoo and you forgot to buy ink.
Right. Yeah, it's happened a couple times.
That's what it's like, Mr. Trujillo, when you come here without evidence.
Yeah, I understand.
With just your good looks and tattoo. That's what happens. You're supposed to bring evidence, bring proof. So we have no proof that she called you to arrive at her house
Right.
1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so you went outside and you told him to disappear.
Yes.
And what happened?
And by that time, my sister had came out because she heard the knock, because our rooms are right next door. And she had went out and told him to leave her house because she was going to call the
police.
Because the incident with the phone.
Oh, so the incident with the phone happened first?
Yes.
And that happened about a month before?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Okay, I was at work, and I get out of work at 10, and he showed up at my work, so I left.
Had you not been seeing each other?
No.
Right.
And I left my work, and he followed me down the street, and he was telling me to pull over, and he was next to me in my car. And so I pulled over because he was coming closer to my car, and he had said that if I didn't pull over, he would go to my house and, break windows and So I pulled over, and he had got my phone to check it for what, I don't know, we weren't together. And I was telling him to give me back my phone, and he was like, "You want your phone?" So he cracked it in half and gave it to me. And so...
Had he been drinking?
Yes, he had a beer in his car.
Who else was in the car?
He was by himself that night.
You got to get a job out of the house, Mr. Trujillo.
Okay.
Listen to me, sir. First, I want you to tell me who these people are that you brought with you to court today.
I brought my dad to court with me today and my brother Fabian. This is my dad, Johnny, and Fabian and Silo.
Yeah, and you all live together?
No.
Do you live alone?
No, I live with my uncle.
Why?
Because my dad has recently moved, and he had moved in with someone else, and there wasn't enough room, so I actually went to live with my uncle.
And where does your brother live?
With his grandpa.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
How old is your brother?
19.
Who did your father move in with?
His girlfriend.
Was there a time you were all living together?
At one time, yeah.
When was the last time you lived together with your father?
About 2 months ago, I lived with my dad in Visalia.
And your brother also lived with your father?
No. My brother has always lived with his grandpa in Tulare.
Did you break her phone?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, tell me what happened, Mr. Trujillo.
Me and Monica had been seeing each other before this incident with the cell phone happened. We had been talking, and we had been texting each other, and she had told me that she got out of work at 10 o'clock, and that if I wanted to see her after work. And I said, okay, cool. I had the car, so I said, okay, I'll meet you at Taco Bell. So we went, and we met at Taco Bell parking lot, and we were there. Everything was fine. We were talking, hugging, everything was cool. And then a call comes through on my phone. And when a call comes through on my phone, it was a ringtone, as, you know, the ringtones, like I know you've heard them, like the lovey-dovey ringtones, like the, you know what I mean, like the guy and girl together ringtones. You know what I'm talking about or no? Like, I mean, I could sing one.
Special song or something?
Like, I mean, I could sing one for you, if you want me to sing one. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, at the time when that had happened, we were both kind of looking at each other because I was already like, okay, you know, something's wrong, I messed up. So Monica had...
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that time, Monica had snatched my phone out of my hand. And when that had happened, she snatched my phone, and I reached for it back. We kind of got into an argument, a little conflict, you know what I mean? And
Who was calling you, Mr. Trujillo?
Just a friend.
Boyfriend or a girlfriend?
It was a girlfriend.
The timing was really terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't expected.
It was messed up.
Yeah, it was at the right time. So when that had happened, I was leaning up against my car, and Monica had thrown my phone at me. But when she had thrown my phone at me, somehow, and you can tell she has little hands. I don't know how she had both phones in her hand, but when she had thrown it at me, my phone rolled over the car, the hood of the car, and her phone hit my car and broke. However it broke, it was snapped in half, and that's basically what happened.
When he met you at Taco Bell, had you told him that you were going to be out of work at 10 o'clock?
No, he called my work around 10, and he said, I was around the corner. He goes, I'll be there right now. And I was like, I'm going home, I'm leaving. And at that point, my boss had opened the doors to let me leave earlier than everybody else, because I had told him. And when I got in my car to leave, he was already at the corner, and that's when he just followed me.
You think if I called her boss would say that they opened the door and let her out a little early?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
What's your boss's name?
David Centeno.
Give me his number.
It's my phone, and my phone is out there.
The Rite Aid number, 67816. There you go.
7816? Now, Mr. Trujillo.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
When somebody tells me I tend to disbelieve everything that they say, especially when I have to get my rather sizable keister off this chair and go in the back to make a telephone call. Do you understand?
Oh, yes.
Now, I am prepared to do that.
Okay.
Unless you want to revise your version of the cell phone events.
No, ma'am. No, not at all.
Okay, so let's call Mr. David, because he doesn't have any clue that I might be calling him. He is going to tell me whether or not he let her out early because you were going to come over.
Right.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, is David Centeno there, please? David, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Good, thank you. David, I have a question for you. I'm here trying a case with Monica Vasquez. And I want you to think back to sometime around the end of June of this year, in the evening when she was leaving. There was an incident with her boyfriend when he called the store. Do you remember that? Could you tell me what happened, please, David? Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. David, you're a very, very nice man for speaking to me. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Boss is a very nice gentleman. Mr. Trujillo, I suggest you spend a little less time tattooing and piercing yourself and a little more time honing your truthful skills, sir. Honing your truthful skills. Ask your father what that means. Honing your truthful skills, sir.
Oh, okay.
Because Mr. Santano says that he remembers the evening very well. You would call the store. You said, I'm going to get down there before the store closes. They let her leave early, and they stood there to watch her get in her car and take off before you got there because she had already broken up with you, and she was afraid about what was going to happen if you got there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So now I believe very little, sir, of what you're going to tell me. So now he owes you a cell phone. Now I want you to tell me what happened when he vandalized your car.
Okay, that was the night he showed up at my window.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you came out, you told him to leave. Sister came out, and you told him to leave. And I understand that there were other people with him.
His father and his brother.
Two geniuses.
Yes. And they were all drinking.
Two geniuses. Well, they can't live together, so at least they can drink together. I guess that's what family's all about. Go ahead.
And my sister had told his dad to keep him away from her house. And his dad didn't really understand what was happening because Lyndon didn't let him know about the night with the cell phone. So he didn't understand why my sister was...
I think if there wasn't a cell phone, his father wouldn't have understood. Go ahead.
So after that, my sister had told him she was going to call the cops and get a restraining order on him. And at that time, Lyndon was mad because his dad had told me, well, then I don't want her calling him or at my house. And I had said, I haven't called your son and I haven't been to your house. And at that time, Lyndon had got mad and they were drinking. So he kind of like pushed my sister. And at that time, when he got angry, my sister ran to the house to call the cops. And at that time, I had ran back to the house too because he was still mad. And he followed me to the garage door on the side of the house. And when I closed the door and locked it, I could feel him trying to open it. He just went to the front of the garage where my car was parked, and I heard a loud noise. And at that time, I had lifted the garage door up because my sister had came out, and we seen him leave the side of my car and get into his dad's car. And the two trash cans were against my car, laying against my car.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Outrageous. When did you purchase this car?
Last year in November.
Bought it yourself?
My mom helped me.
Who pays for it?
I do.
Paid the insurance too?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up next to him. You came here. You might as well stand up here.
Monica Vasquez says ex-boyfriend Lyndon Trujillo owes for vandalizing her car and for destroying her cell phone.
What were you doing out with your son at 1:30 in the morning?
We had went to the club.
What club?
El Presidente.
What were you doing at the club?
Dancing.
And drinking?
I was, yes.
With whom?
Females.
All different kinds?
Pretty much, yeah.
So if you were dancing and drinking with a whole bunch of females, you weren't watching what your two sons were doing?
Actually, he was on his cell phone the whole time we were there, text messaging and back and forth. And I went to him and asked him, who you texting? And he said, Monica. So
And that's what he said to you?
Yeah.
That's what he said to you, but you don't know that that's true.
No, but if I may, Your Honor.
Yeah.
The day before the cell phone incident had occurred,
Yeah.
she came to my house, and my dad was coming up from work, and she was coming downstairs. I was walking her down to her car. And that's why I don't understand really how it could go from her being upstairs in my house and me and her being together in a relationship or working things out, and then to...
Well, were you working things out, or were you in a relationship, sir?
No, we're working things out to be in a relationship.
So what did you go there at 1:30 in the morning for?
Because we had been texting each other. We had been texting and talking to each other, and...
Did she invite you there?
Yeah, I had her on speakerphone because I was the designated driver.
Yeah, she had told him.
Yeah, she was in the car. She knew that the speakerphone wasn't on.
That her sister was asleep, the kids were gone, for him to go over there and visit, to see her.
And what were you going to do?
I just sat in the car because I was drinking.
You, and what about him?
He was in the back seat.
So the two of you were just going to sit there in the back seat of the car,
Well,
in the
actually,
front seat
yeah.
of the car, while he went inside to visit with his girlfriend?
They didn't go inside. They stayed outside in the driveway.
Fine. So he goes over to see Monica, and how did her car get dented?
When we got there, Monica had stepped outside. She was walking towards her car. We pulled up, and she went like this, like waved us over there. We all three got out of the car, walked over. She showed us a dent on her car and said that she had got into an accident with a motorcyclist. And me and her made a few comments back and forth because I had just recently wrecked my Harley. And I had told her, you know, so anyways, we said a few statements back and forth. And then me and Fabian went back and got back in the car. They stayed there talking, hugging, kissing until Marie came outside. And Monica flipped the whole script when Marie came outside. Because she was upset.
Were you at his house the day before?
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
When you send a text message, could you save those things?
They stay for 14 days.
Huh?
You can lock them.
Save them, right?
Yes, you can.
Show me.
Your Honor, I don't have my phone with me. I don't have any proof right now, Your Honor, so it's...
Why don't you, sir?
Because I came unprepared. I came on intentions of knowing that what I know is true.
Is everything that you said just now as truthful as you went over to the store the end of June, invited by her to come over to the store?
What, to her store, Rite Aid?
Yeah.
No, I didn't go to Rite Aid.
Oh, no.
No, I said I went to Taco Bell. I drove to Taco Bell. She was at Rite Aid when we had talked on her.
Why would you think, Mr. Trujillo, that she would say to her boss, concerned, I just want to get out of here before he comes over, and the boss distinctly remembers all the employees watching her get into the car to make sure she was safe and leave?
But I wasn't in her parking lot, though.
I don't care whether you were in a parking lot or not, sir. Why do you think that boss would remember that?
Oh, yeah, no, boss, no. I'm not saying that. She got in her car, but I'm saying what I'm trying to tell you, though, is that I did not go into her parking lot.
No, what you said, Mr. Trujillo, was that you had an appointment to meet in Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And that, sir, is a lie. That, sir, is a lie.
That we met in Taco Bell?
It is a lie that you had an appointment to meet at Taco Bell. Because when she heard from you, she asked her boss if she could take off because she was concerned about her safety. They all watched her leave.
Then why would she have pulled into Taco Bell if she knew that she could have got away from me?
I don't know what you were doing, sir. And I don't know what your drunken father was doing or your drunken brother was doing on the night this happened with the car. I have no clue. All I know is, sir, you lied to me once, and you also don't know the law in the jurisdiction where you live because you're required to have a license to tattoo. Sir.
Okay.
And what is your address?
My address right now?
Where you're doing the tattooing?
In a house. On
What is the address?
I don't know my address. I just know it's on Bradley Street. I've only been there like a month, 2 months, so I don't know the address. I don't get mail there.
Did you make more than 3 children or just 3?
Only 3.
Only 3. So far you got 2 losers, right? 1,
I don't consider
2.
them losers, but...
Well, so far they haven't done anything to make you proud.
Sure they have.
I don't see
They
it.
graduated high school. That made me proud.
Oh, my God. My God, that's like the 8th wonder of the world.
That's an accomplishment in this family.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
You got to do something with it once you graduate from high school.
Yes, I totally agree.
I'm so pleased that you agree with me.
am.
I've been looking forward all year for a person of your stature to agree with me. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950. That's all. Goodbye.
Laura Francis says her niece, Tammy Wickham, owes for a loan for school tuition and 2 months' rent. Tammy claims she never agreed to pay the money back.
Miss Francis, the defendant is your niece?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she owes you money for a loan, for some school tuition, and also for rent that you were forced to pay on her behalf because you had signed a lease for her and her children to live in an apartment, and she did not pay the rent, so you were forced to. Ms. Wickham says that's absolutely ridiculous. You did, in fact, pay the tuition for her, but the reason you paid the tuition for her is that she was working for you at the time and you couldn't afford to pay her, so that you paid her tuition instead. And with regard to any other money, she said you have some nerve suing her because she actually made a loan to you for $25,000.
Correct.
When did you give her $25,000?
In February of 2007.
Where did you get $25,000 from?
I sold my home and had a large chunk from selling my home.
How much?
How much did I get from the house?
Yes.
$84,000.
And what did you give Miss Francis $25,000 for?
She had helped me out in a legal situation, and as a thank you, I lent her money. She was in a bind financially.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Now I'm going to ask you about it. Okay. Tell me about this $25,000. I'm curious.
I have no idea about the $25,000. She's never in her life lent me 5 cents.
Do you have any proof that you gave her $25,000?
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
I would too.
Well, it's actually $27,000.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Just a second.
Okay. She gave me that money to hold for her because she couldn't trust herself to handle her money. She actually got, I think, $102,000 from selling her home. She spent all of that money on attorney fees, all of it, trying to get custody of the 5 children that she doesn't have custody of. And as you can see, she's having yet a 6th child.
So what you're telling me is this wasn't money she gave to you.
This was not money she gave me.
This is money she gave to you to hold for her.
To hold for her.
Did you ever give it back?
Absolutely. Every dime of it, and then some.
That's absolutely not true. If I needed her to hold my money, I would have given her the $84,000 she needed.
Maybe you spent it.
No, I actually
did
have some of it left.
Oh, right.
Miss Wickham, you have 5 kids?
I do.
Where are they?
2 of them reside with their father. We have joint custody, and my younger 3 are with their father.
So there are 2 separate fathers?
Correct.
And who was the father of this baby?
The father of my younger 3, my husband.
But you're not living together?
No.
How long haven't you lived together?
Approximately 5 months.
They've never lived together.
Do you ever have a drug problem, Miss Wickham?
Never.
Where do you spend all your money?
I've been going to school for the last 4 years, and I have 5 kids.
Well, right now you don't have custody of any of your children.
It's only been 5 months prior
That's
to that.
a long time not to have custody of your children.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I do have custody of my older 2.
How old are they?
11 and 10.
They live with their father.
They're with me 42%. With him during the week, me weekends, and half of vacation and Wednesdays.
All right, Miss Francis. I have a feeling there's a lot more going on here that I don't know about and probably don't care to know about with regard to this, the facts of this case. Just trying to get a sense of where this $27,000 went.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Because
Go
I
ahead.
gave it all back to her.
Go ahead.
When she was living in my house when she got her kids back, it was almost 2 years. We fought to get her children back.
All right, so the children were taken by the state?
Yes. And then she got them back in, I think, July of 2008. And my sister, which is her mother, and I did everything we could to help her, to support her. Her mother finally in September threw her out. She's disrespectful. She's arrogant. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Tell me about this tuition loan.
She was collecting grants from school on a regular basis, and I have the school printout. She had to pay back $3,783 to the school because the foster parent called the school and told them that she had lied.
No, you can't tell me what the foster parent says. She had to pay back $3,780.
Right. And she didn't have it. So she came and asked me if she could borrow it. She asked me, had been asking for about a week. And finally, I just got so fed up, I just said, okay, I'll put it on the credit card, but you're going to make the payment. She agreed. She says, if I pay them back $3,720, whatever it is, $83 now, in December, on December 31st, I will get $7,200.
You mean from financial aid?
Right, for going to school. So I agreed to do it so she could continue going to school because she wants to be a lawyer, and she's already in a good position to do that because she's a fabulous liar. Therefore, I lent her the money, okay? The next day, she told me, that night actually, she told me to go to in my own home. I'm letting her and her 3 children live with me, and she tells me she's very disrespectful. So I said, call the school. I'm not doing this, Tammy. I'm going to tell them I'm not paying the money. You are on your own. You figure it out. I called the school, and the lady at the financial...
Don't tell me what anybody said. Did you give her $3,780?
I paid the school tuition back, yes.
Okay. What else did you pay for her?
In October, because I couldn't live with her anymore, so I said, you got to go. She left my home. She called me the next day, and I said, where did you stay? She said, we slept in the park. Her and her 3 children in the park all night in the cold. It was in December, and it broke my heart. So she went to welfare, and they gave her vouchers to stay in motels, I guess, for a couple of weeks. But she came calling me, pleading again, Laura, please, can you help me? I can't rent an apartment in my name because I have bad credit, but can you please rent an apartment for me? And because Child Protective Services was coming to check on the residents to see that she had sufficient housing for the children. Not for her, Your Honor, but for the children. I did it. I went up to Victorville and I rented an apartment for her and the kids.
Go ahead.
And it was okay. Thank you.
Where did you expect her to get money to pay for this apartment?
This is what she said. I'm going to get $787 a month from welfare. I'm going to get $1,900 child support from the father of the 2 older kids. And I get $400 and some odd dollars of food stamps every month. I'm going to sell that to my friend Teresa, you know, the food stamps, not feed the kids, sell the food stamps for cash, and I can pay the rent. So I said, okay, one more time. So I did that, and that was October 14th, the day that the social worker was coming to check to see if she had sufficient housing for the children. And she came, and there was no furniture there, but she saw that it was a nice apartment. So that was good. And then December 5th, she was arrested again for leaving the children by themselves at 10 o'clock at night while she went to work at a bar from 10 to 2 in the morning.
How old are the children?
11 was the oldest, 9. The youngest was 6 months old, an infant. 3 under 3.5 years old.
What does the father do, the father of the 3 youngest children?
Well, he was working at somewhere, but she got him fired. He's not working now. He's taking care of the kids on unemployment, I believe.
And who does he live with?
His sister.
You see the children?
Yes.
You see them at your house?
No, we go wherever we have to go to see them. And he's very amenable. We and the kids get along great. They love us.
What about their grandmother? Do they see their grandmother?
Yes, they do.
You go together or
Yes.
separately?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, so she paid rent for a while, and how much rent did she not pay?
In December, she gave them a bad check, so they called me because, of course, I'm the contact, and said that now the rent was $990.
How much rent did you pay in her behalf?
$1,087 and some change.
How many months?
That was in December. Then she got out of jail and gave the lawyer all the money she was supposed to give me back for the school, the $3,700, and I was upset. But anyway, I had to pay it because it was in my name. So then again in March, she came to my house and says, I don't have the rent. You pretty much have to pay it because it's in your name. So you really don't have much of a choice, Laura, okay? I hated that, but I did it. I mean, it was the truth. It was in my name, so I paid it. She told me on March 20th she would get another $5,000 from school that she would give me. And she got another $5,000 from school, and I didn't get a dime of it. And then she got $2,900 for filing her income tax, and I didn't get a dime of that either. And
okay, got it. Okay, Miss Wickham, I'll hear you.
I lived with my aunt while I was pregnant with my youngest for 9 months, and the agreement was I wanted to finish my last semester at school. She was going to pay my financial aid instead of paying me to work for her.
What kind of work did you do?
Real estate assistant. She's a realtor.
When you were living with her, how much rent did you pay her?
I paid $300 here and there, but she would never take my money.
How much rent did you pay her every month?
We had no agreement.
The answer is nothing. How much did you pay her towards utilities?
I would give her $300. I was working here and there.
How much did you? I thought you were working for her in real estate.
I was, but I also worked as a waitress Friday and Saturday nights.
And how much did you pay her to maintain the food in the house?
I bought my own food and also bought food for her.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not. Nonsense. Did you finish school?
I did, just recently.
Did you graduate?
I'm going to graduate this semester. I'll be walking.
Now, I don't know what your problems are. Clearly you have some. If you have an aunt who loves you and has been supportive, and you have a mother who loves you and has tried to be supportive, and these 2 women in your life have had it with you up to here, you have to acknowledge at some point that you're doing something wrong. And one of the things that you're doing wrong is somebody who can't take care of their children doesn't have another one.
That's the issue. That's why they're upset. Yes.
Hey,
My aunt told me in an email here if I had another child, and she emailed this to my husband, who she dislikes, that if we had another child, she would do everything in her power to make sure none of us ever saw any of our 5 kids again.
I want to tell you something. She's absolutely right. I don't understand except that the laws in this country, unfortunately, don't always protect children. Because if I were in charge of your children, and if I didn't have the law as a constraint, I don't think that you or your husband, who you don't live with, is an appropriate caretaker for your children. Because your children have been all over the globe. Your children were taken away and were in foster care. They were in your custody. You left them alone. An 11-year-old with a 6-month-old. And where was the father all this time? Where was his head? Somewhere where it's very, very dark, because he knows, listen, she can't take care of 5 children, so what are we going to do? We're going to have a 6th. Ridiculous. You got to find some other hobby. You got to find some other hobby. And evidently school wasn't enough. Should have had school and work and been so busy that you didn't have time to make number 6. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about it, but I'm telling you, I would watch very carefully, because there's something not right in the wheels up there. And I don't know about the fathers of these children, because I haven't met them, but certainly these children have not gotten the childhood that they were entitled to, which was a certain sense of continuity and living in the same place and not living in a park and not living alone and not living without furniture and living with a father and living with a mother and living with an aunt. Come on, grow up. First way to grow up is to acknowledge what you owe, and you owe your aunt $5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Linda Banks is suing her neighbor, Herbert Robertson, for accidentally shooting out her windows with a BB gun. Herbert claims he's a better shot than that.
Ms. Banks, Mr. Robertson is your neighbor, and it is your claim that he shot out some windows in your home with a BB gun.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Robertson, while he acknowledges the fact that he was shooting his BB gun, said that A, it's impossible for the gun to have pierced the windows of your house, because it would have to go through a bunch of trees, and B, it would be impossible anyway because he's a very good shot. And he was shooting at squirrels, and he knows that because he's such a good shot, he would not have missed and damaged your property. Those are your 2 defenses. Is that right, sir?
Pretty much.
Tell me where I'm wrong. I like to know where I'm wrong.
Well, I might miss on occasion.
Oh.
But, like I said, we're in front of the big tree, so...
Okay. Miss Banks, have you had any trouble with Mr. Robertson before?
Yes, I have.
With what?
About 5 years ago.
Stop playing with that, please. It's distracting me, and at my age, nothing should distract me when I'm trying to work. Yes.
Approximately 5 years ago, Your Honor, he installed a pool improperly in his backyard, and that pool ruptured, and the water came down my backyard because he lives here and I live here, and approximately 19,000 gallons of water came into my basement. And what I did was I asked him to come over to survey the damage. He did, and his comment was that it wasn't that bad. But because we're neighbors and I tried to handle it civilly, I settled with his insurance company for $1,200, and there was a lot more damage than that, let alone the time. And I asked him to just help me clean it up, and he refused to do that. This time, when I discovered the damage, I said I wasn't going to let it go.
Since the incident 5 years ago, I assume that the relationship between the 2 of you has been strained.
Yes.
What date were you shooting at squirrels, Mr. Robertson, when Miss Banks came over and told you had damaged her windows?
Oh, she never did.
Who did?
I did. This guy. I mean, I was out in the backyard one day, and he hollers at me and says, you know, you shot my garage window. I said, well, I don't know if I did, but if I did, I'll replace it. He says, don't worry about it. I just wanted you to know about it. And so ever since then, we quit shooting the BB guns.
Well, when was this, sir, that you told him he shot out the window?
It was the 3rd week of July. His son was out shooting and actually shot over top of my head.
How old is your son?
16.
Don't you know that you could hurt somebody with a BB gun?
If you hit somebody, it'd probably sting.
Well, if you hit him in the eye, it could blind him.
Probably could.
If you hit him in the ear, it could make him go deaf.
Probably could.
So why do you do it?
I didn't.
No, why do you let your son play with a BB gun?
Well, you know, I imagine there's probably 40, 50 kids in that neighborhood got BB guns.
I don't give a rat's behind about 40 or 50 kids. I'm asking you, why do you let your son shoot a BB gun?
Because I don't see anything wrong with it. It's my yard. If he wants to shoot a pop can or something in the backyard, you know, that's no problem. You know, this guy's saying he got one shot over his head. I doubt it. How would you know?
Because you can hear it coming through the...
You can't hear a BB.
Mr. Robertson.
Yeah, it's like, might I say something?
Yes.
I mean, it's like we're talking about the swimming pool. You know, 19,000 gallons of water didn't go in her basement. You know, I did go and survey the damage. It didn't look that bad.
Went into her basement?
My insurance company took it.
When I'm speaking, you see, you may be able. Is this your wife?
Yeah.
You may be able to interrupt her. Don't interrupt me.
No, I was speaking.
No. But when I start to speak, Mr. Robertson, you have to stop. That's the way we play here in my playpen.
That's fine.
Good. Can I see the damage to your house, please?
Yes, ma'am. I have police reports as well, if you would like to see those.
I would.
And then also I've included estimates.
Good. How many windows?
3 windows, and then the truck windshield.
Well, either you or your son have lousy aim, sir.
Would you mind asking this man if he did agree, you know, that I told him I'd take care of the window, and he said, don't worry about it, I just wanted you to be aware of it? Because after that date, we never shot anymore.
When you first...
Shh, don't answer him.
It's like rock damage to me. No BB did that.
Yes.
Judge Judy, I would like to add, originally, the first incident he did offer to pay. The second incident was August the 11th, the date of the police report.
And on the second incident, how many windows were shot out?
That's when we discovered the damage of the second additional, the bedroom window, and then the truck window.
Got it. Still have the BB gun, Mr. Robertson?
Yeah.
Still let your son use it?
Like I said, nobody shot it since he said I shot his garage window out.
Well, you don't know that, sir. You do work, don't you? You do work.
No, I don't.
You don't work?
No.
Why not?
I'm disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Back. I've had 5 back surgeries.
Really? How can you shoot a BB gun with a bad back?
A BB gun?
Yeah, how can you pick up a BB gun?
Well, how much do you think it weighs?
It's kind of hard to shoot. Well, incapacitating. Seems to be if you can do this, you can sit at a desk and answer a phone.
Well, I'm just saying, I offered to pay for it. He said, don't worry about it. And that was the end of the shooting.
He doesn't want you to, no, listen to me. He doesn't want you to worry about it. He wants you to pay for it. There's a difference.
I offered to pay for it.
Good.
Ask my wife.
Oh, I won't. She has to go home with you.
For
that, she has
you
my
done made your
sincere
mind up.
condolences.
And like I said, you know, I thought you were innocent until you're proven guilty.
That's what we just did.
No, you didn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. Thank you. That's all.
Don't matter.
Jessica Lager says former friends Brent and Nick Boots vandalized her car by jumping on the hood and...
Thank you, Bert. Miss Lager, these 2 young men used to be friends of yours, and it is your claim that some time ago they vandalized your car while they were probably drunk, acting like fools. What's your last name?
Boots.
And yours?
Boots.
Are you brothers?
Yes, we are.
The Boots brothers?
Yep. Yeah.
You ought to make a movie out of it. Boots brothers. They say it wasn't them. When did this happen, Miss Lager?
On my 21st birthday, June 3rd, 2006.
And where was your car at the time?
It was at my boyfriend's mother's house, Denelda Foley's.
That would be you?
Yes.
Could you stand up? Because you weren't there.
Correct, I was not there.
When had you parked your car in front of your boyfriend's mother's house?
Well, I was letting her borrow it for quite some time because her vehicle was getting fixed at the time.
What kind of car did you have?
It's a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
Could you keep your voice up? I'm old.
It was a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
What is that?
It's a 4-door silver
Nabira?
vehicle. Nabira.
Where is that made?
I believe Korea, but I'm not sure.
I never heard of it. I'm so pleased that you didn't. I'm sure it's a lovely car.
It was a lovely car.
Miss Foley, do you remember June 3rd, 2006?
Yes.
I knew you were home on June 3rd,
Yes.
2006. Which one of the Boots boys is going to speak?
I will.
And what is your first name?
Brent.
And yours?
My name's Nick.
No, I think I want Nick to speak. Now, Nick, how far do you live from Miss Foley?
Only like 2 blocks.
You have any reason to be near Miss Foley's house?
I'm best friends with their kid.
Keep your voice up, Nick.
I'm best friends with their son,
What's her son's name?
Bart.
Is that person here today?
Nah, he's not.
Your younger brother?
Yeah, it was my younger brother.
How long have you been friends?
Since I was like 2.
Tell me about June 2006.
Well,
No. Don't look there. Don't look there.
Well, we were at her house and... Sorry. We were at her house, like, having a party or whatever, chilling. Just a get-together.
How many people were there?
Just like 4 of us.
Which 4? The 2 Boots boys?
Her. And then my girlfriend was there, and then her son was there.
There were 5 of you there. That would be 5. Let's count
Or
them.
other than me.
Nick, you want to count them? That would be 5 altogether, right? And when had you started chilling?
I'm not sure what time it was.
Around 9 or so, I'd say. 8 or 9.
And then what happened, Nick?
We were just drinking and whatnot, and then we left.
Drinking. What were you drinking?
Vodka,
Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe.
No! Don't speak unless I speak to you. I want Nick. Don't speak. Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe it was from her, because it was
From
her
who?
21st birthday. Jessica.
Was she home?
No.
Well, where did you get the vodka from?
We met up with them earlier on that day.
And she gave you a bottle of vodka?
Well, she purchased it for us. We gave her the money.
So you gave Miss Lager the cash, and she went into a liquor store and purchased how much vodka?
A liter.
A liter. That's a big bottle, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty big.
And what were you mixing the liter with?
We were just taking shots and drinking pop.
Shots and pop.
Shots and pop, yes.
And then what happened?
Nothing. We all had fun, and then once the night was over, we all went home.
And didn't see Miss Lager's car?
No.
Miss Lager, did you purchase vodka for them?
No, I did not. No, I do not purchase vodka for underage minors.
Why do you think worry?
To make it look good for themselves.
Nah. They could have just said, they found it. So I believe that you purchased it for them.
It was my 21st birthday. Why would I purchase alcohol for them?
I have no idea, because they were with your boyfriend's little brother.
I wasn't even near them all day. I was with my mother all day.
Okay. Miss Foley, tell me what you saw on June 3rd with regard to the Boots boys and Miss Lager's car.
I was at home. My son Bartley came up late that night and said, Mother, Brent and Nick are out kicking in Jesse's car. You need to come out and make him stop. So I went down, I looked out the landing. Brent was on the hood of the car, the roof of the car.
Brent, why couldn't you let Nick go on the hood of the car?
So I went down 2 more flights of stairs. By the time I got out there, Brent was off of the car, standing by the passenger mirror. Nick was standing in front of the car trying to kick the headlight, and he had stated to me that he had kicked the headlight and it didn't break. And Brent said he kicked the mirror off, but it didn't come off all the way. And I asked him why they were doing that, and they were mad at Jessica, I guess, at the time. So
why were you mad at Jessica?
We were mad at Jessica, but...
Well, tell me why you were mad at her. I just want to know why you were mad at her.
Stole a digital camera from my ex-girlfriend out of our house.
Oh, then I don't believe that she bought you alcohol. There you go. See what happened? If you were mad at her, why would you give her money to buy you alcohol on the same day?
He was always around anyways.
Oh.
Because I used to be best friends with him over there, her boyfriend.
We all hung out every day.
Now, she's the mother of your really good friend, right?
Yes.
So you know her for a long time.
Most of my
You
life.
go to her house? Put your hand down. You go to her house?
Every day, practically.
She sometimes gives you a sandwich? You know?
I eat over there occasionally, I could say.
So you think there's any reason why she would lie about you?
No, I wouldn't see a reason why she would.
Why would she lie about her son's best friend, who she sees every day of his life, who she's very good to? Why would she lie about him?
I don't know.
Do you understand my problem here, Nick?
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm coming from?
Sort of, yeah.
Are you twins?
No.
Who's older?
I'm older.
What about your older brother here? Did he ever go over to Miss Foley's house?
Yep.
Eat at her house?
We didn't really know much people in the area, so we were there all the time.
And Miss Foley was always nice to you?
Most of the time, yes.
Can you think of any reason why she would tell such a horrendous lie about you vandalizing a car that she was driving? Huh?
Maybe because Jessica's going to give her some money for it or something.
No. Then you would have to say that she's a liar and a thief.
She is.
Miss Foley?
Oh, not Miss Foley, but Jessica.
I'm talking about Miss Foley.
No, she's not a
Miss Foley is the one who identified you, not Miss Lager. You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar?
On this
Nick!
Yes.
You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar? You followed your brother.
Yeah.
No, say this. Miss Foley, you're a liar.
I wish she wouldn't lie, that's what...
Uh-huh. Evidently, you were a better friend than your older brother, because you couldn't say it. Now, when you do something wrong, you're supposed to fess up. Now, it's possible that you two morons don't remember because you were drinking a liter of vodka what you did on the night of June 3rd. That's possible. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
21.
Can I see an estimate on fixing your car in the photographs, please? Are you still friendly with her younger son?
Not really.
Was he also involved? Well, you don't know. Was your youngest son involved in this?
He didn't. Nope.
Was he? Just a second.
No, he did not do anything to the car.
Did you want to say something?
I was going to say I thought you were talking about him, but I am friends with her youngest son, yes.
No, I asked if her youngest son did anything to this car.
No, he wasn't there. He was upstairs the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you hear what he said? He said no, he wasn't there. He was upstairs all the time. You just let him go and go and go, and after a while they just, you know.
They'll sign off.
They just sign off on it, right?
It was in an accident.
Yeah, her car was in an
previously.
accident before that, and it was all dented, and she was trying to say that we did all that when it couldn't
How much
possibly.
did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
Well, yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Now, if you said to me, listen, we got a little drunk, and we acted stupid around the car, but a lot of this damage was done before.
This stuff
I'll talk
happens all the time in our area.
What, that you jump on the
People-
hood of a car?
No. Vandalism.
I asked you a question. Your brother couldn't say it. If Miss Foley identified you two boys who were lifelong friends of one of her children, there would have to be a reason. Because when people identify someone who's caused damage to their property, they want the right people punished. They don't want the wrong people punished. They want the right people to pay for the damage. Now, if she had some axe to grind with you, I could understand it. But you've given me no motive for her to lie about it.
She wasn't even there. This is completely false and erroneous. And
Yeah. No, you're erroneous.
no.
You're erroneous and irrelevant. Erroneous and
And the
irrelevant.
car's not even worth that much to begin with.
You're absolutely right. How much did you pay for the car?
Around $7,000.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give you $11,000 to fix it.
No, I don't.
No. You could go buy yourself a new car.
Car can't even drive down the road straight. You let go of the wheel and you'll be
Listen,
in the
you
ditch.
couldn't walk straight. That's not up to you, young man. That's not up to you. When you damage somebody's property, you take it as you take it. That's it. And when you act like a fool, that's why they don't let people drink until they're 21 years old, because even 21-year-olds are morons. 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are double morons. They shouldn't even be allowed out of the house after 9 o'clock at night. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sandra Terrace says her ex-daughter-in-law, Miss Shelley Johnson, owes for airline tickets, wedding expenses, and the return of a family heirloom. Sandra claims Miss Shelley is a bigamist.
Miss Terrace, this is your former daughter-in-law. She was
Yes.
married to your son for a very short time, and it is your claim that she owes you some money. She owes you money for airline tickets that you claim you bought with money that was a loan to her to bring her family to see you over a Christmas holiday. You claim she owes you for some wedding expenses that you paid for, and you expected her to pay you back. And you claim that she owes you for one final thing, and that is for some family heirlooms that you gave to her in anticipation of her being your daughter-in-law for a very long time.
Yes.
Miss Johnson says that these were all gifts. She never intended to pay you back. There was never any discussion of paying you back for the items that you purchased for her. And you're just angry that she divorced your son and married somebody else. You did remarry.
Yes.
When were you married to, I assume, this gentleman? This is your son?
This is my son. I was legally married to Ethan on January 10th of '07.
And when did you separate from him?
January 25th, I believe, is when he moved out.
Why?
Because he did not want to get a job. He didn't want to pay rent. He didn't want to help with any of the household expenses.
You mean you found this out in 15 days?
Well,
Miss Johnson, you got married in January 10th. January 25th, 15 days later, it was over.
Yes.
Strange. Okay, tell me about the airline tickets, which is what you're complaining about first, Miss Terrace.
The airline tickets to bring Shelley and her daughters for Christmas. I flew them down.
From where?
I flew them from Denver to Las Vegas so they could come and spend Christmas with me.
You have daughters?
Yes.
How many?
2.
So you wanted her to come down and spend Christmas with you?
Yes.
With your son?
Yes.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Shelley had no money for airline tickets, and I was asked if I would purchase them, and I would be paid back.
Who told you that you were going to be paid back?
Shelley?
No, she didn't. That sounds ridiculous, Miss Tarras. You never told you were going to pay her back for the airline tickets?
No, that was an agreement with her son.
Of course not. You wanted your son to come to your house for Christmas. So you said, I'll send you airline tickets. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, Miss Tarras. Right? Of course. I have children. If I want my children to come and spend Thanksgiving or Christmas with me, you know, and they don't have money, I say, I'll send you the tickets. So, move on. I don't believe you that she said she was going to pay you back. What's next?
Okay. Starting with August 14th, my son discovered that Shelley had remarried on February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Their marriage was not annulled until May.
Okay.
They were still living as man and wife.
Okay. Would you tell me what it is that you claim she owes you money for? I'm not the moral police.
Okay. At that time, I told them that I would help out paying for a formal wedding and a reception to be held on May 26th. At that time, after discovering that Shelley had committed bigamy by marrying a man on Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Just a second. You said they were married January 10th, 2007.
Correct.
And then they were supposed to have a reception in May.
Correct.
But they were no longer living together in May of 07.
That's correct.
And you paid for what?
I paid for all wedding expenses.
And?
And I was told that I would be repaid for this. However, Shelley, it was an agreement that I would be paid back. And after discovering that Shelley married a man while she was still married to my son, I feel she is not entitled to anything.
Just a second. I know what you feel. When did you plan this wedding and make the payments that you're complaining about? In what
December.
Month? In December. So you made certain outlays of money.
Correct.
Had your son ever been married before?
No.
Had you been married before?
Yes, ma'am.
So you wanted to make a wedding. Where was the wedding supposed to be?
In my hometown.
In your hometown. For your family and friends.
That's
because your son was never married before.
That's correct.
So you said, I'll make the wedding. Miss Tarras, we know where it's going, my dear. That's what you do. You didn't expect her to pay for the wedding. She's got 2 children that she's, I assume, supporting, that they live with her. She wasn't going to make the wedding. You wanted to make the wedding in Las Vegas, where you live, where your son grew up, where you have family and friends, and you said, I'll pay for the wedding. You put down a deposit on a hall, you put down deposit on invitations, and whatever you did. The formal marriage didn't work out, and nothing came of the May event because they were already separated for 5 months by the time May rolled around. So, doesn't work out, doesn't work out. Would have been no difference if they got married January 10th and you paid for the wedding in January, and that was the formal wedding, and they separated 15 days later. You don't get your money back from her. What do you want?
I'd like to add something, Your Honor.
Go.
Amen. I moved out of the apartment on February 20th of 2007. Shelley's second ex-husband, she found out uncruelly, had died, had passed away on December 1st. Shelley was having a very hard time grieving with this. And I can remember multiple times her waking up in the middle of the night telling me how much Chris was a better man than me.
Listen, does this have some relevance to your mother's lawsuit, or you just want a cathartic event? What does that have to do? Mr. Tarras, listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you were hurt. However, you are a very lucky man. Very lucky. Because you were about to take on a responsibility of a woman who's a little nutty. There's no question she's a nut. Because she had 2 girls, and she gave up what appears to be a perfectly reasonable guy with a perfectly reasonable family, and married somebody, according to you, who's in prison.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's nutty. So, finding that out now, before you do something stupid like make a baby with her so that you're tied to her forever, you should go like this and say, thank you very much. If it only cost me a few $1,000s to get rid of this nut, it's a bargain. It's the bargain of the century. Do you understand, Mr. Tarras?
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother should understand that, too. Now, I understand you were hurt. You'll find somebody else, uncomplicated, and do yourself a favor. How old are you?
25, ma'am.
25. Pick somebody without baggage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now sit.
I am, ma'am.
What's next?
Your Honor, due to her committing bigamy...
It's over. She never promised to pay you for the wedding. Move on.
Well, she did
No, she did not.
Okay.
No, that's a fib. I don't like fibbers. I have 5 children. I've made more than 5 weddings because we had a couple of doubles in there. I know what it's like. None of my children ever paid me back for weddings. Do you understand? Even when the marriage didn't work out. Get over it, Miss Harris. Now move on.
Okay. Well, just the bigamy charges. She marries another man while they're still married. That concerns me.
It may concern you, madam. I am not a criminal court judge. You want to notify the district attorney that she committed bigamy? Go with good luck and go with my blessing. Get on to what I'm here about. The last part of your lawsuit, which is items that you claim you gave her, family heirlooms that you want back.
Yes, my mother makes hand-sewn quilts for all the new granddaughters that are marrying her grandsons. My family is requesting that returned due to obviously not having any interest in them since she married a man a month after marrying my son.
Well, you're not entitled to that, Miss Harris, unless Miss Johnson wants to give it back to you. Do you have that quilt?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Would you like to give it back to Miss Harris? She would like it back.
I can send it back to her grandmother.
Fine. Perfect. What else?
The diamond necklace that I would like returned.
No, you don't get that back.
Okay. I bought that as a daughter-in-law, but...
Good. She was your daughter-in-law for about 15 days. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep going.
The expenses for the wedding.
I already told you. She owes you absolutely nothing. She's being gracious in returning a quilt that you say was made by a family member that you want back in the family. And that's only her being gracious to return that to you. So you're not entitled to anything else, Ms. Harris. I'll prepare an order with regard to the quilt. Thank you very much. That's all.
20-year-old Michael Schaefer is suing ex-roommate, 22-year-old Jacob Tyler, for damage to his property. Michael claims Jacob removed items from the apartment and left them outside.
All right, so I have some preliminary questions. Let's listen up very carefully, and let's start with the ground rules, which are everybody tells me the truth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You two were roommates for
Yes.
a period of time. Which one was the neat one?
I was.
And who was the slob?
He was.
I wouldn't say I was a slob. I wasn't as anal retentive as Jacob.
He had roommates that
This is your complaint. Mr. Tyler moved out for the end of the lease.
Yes.
Mutual?
were. Yes.
Yes.
The lease was to expire on May 31st of this year.
Yes, ma'am.
On May 31st, you came back.
To verify.
I like to tell the story myself.
I'm
I
sorry.
could do this as a one-man show, except that I need sometimes some input from you.
Okay.
You came back to ensure that he moved out on time because you were still responsible on the lease,
Yes.
and they had your security deposit.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
And when you came back, you found Mr. Schaefer not being a slob, a little disorganized. All of his stuff is still there. The place is a pigsty, and you start to clean it up.
Yes.
He leaves. Where did you go on May 31st, by the way, when you left?
It was about 10 o'clock at night. I went home to go to sleep.
You went home where?
To my parents' house. I moved back in with my parents.
When did you move back in with your parents, Mr. Schaefer?
I had been moving things into their house over the course
When was the last time you slept in this apartment?
of the morning of May the 31st.
Now, you have to be very careful because I'm going to put you in between a rock and a hard place, sir. When you went back to your parents' house to sleep at 10 p.m. on May 31st, you were aware of the fact that the next day you were supposed to be totally out of the apartment, or midnight that night,
Yeah,
correct?
correct.
But you went home at 10 o'clock,
Yes.
and you still had a lot of stuff there.
Yes.
Well, that's why you're here, Mr. Schaefer, because it is your claim that you had a lot of stuff there that he took out and set outside, and it was either ruined by the rain or stolen. So it's a lot of stuff. Let's see how much stuff you say was there. $713 worth of stuff.
About
Now, why
400
di-
of which was the TV.
Why didn't you take that stuff and have it out when you were supposed to?
I hadn't realized how much stuff I had accumulated. I didn't realize how long
You
it would
mean
take.
it just came up and bit you on the behind? And if you did, why didn't you, instead of going home at 10 o'clock at night, Mr. Schaefer, stay up until midnight and get all the stuff out of there?
I was very tired.
That's too bad.
I figured we could settle up with the apartment. We could pay for an extra day just to get the rest of my stuff
You
out.
weren't going to pay for anything because the security deposit was his.
We would have settled afterward.
I don't believe you. And after you got your stuff out, stop playing with your papers, Mr. Anal Retentive.
Sorry.
closet.
Who was supposed to clean it after you got your junk out?
I had been cleaning that day, and Jacob actually came by the apartment to clean and to patch holes that he had punched in the walls because he had quite an anger problem.
Just a second. So you had been cleaning that day?
Cleaning.
Is that what you're telling me? You had been cleaning that day?
Yes, I vacuumed the carpets. I was moving my stuff out, just going through the whole process.
Mr. Schaefer, you're full of baloney. Your stuff wasn't out of there. As far as I'm concerned, the landlord could have taken your stuff and thrown it in a dumpster at midnight. He's not responsible for your stuff after midnight.
I cleared it with the apartment manager the following morning.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Where is the manager? I want to interview the manager.
We don't have that manager
Well,
here.
that's too bad because that's hearsay. When a lease is up, it's up.
Before I left the apartment, Jacob was patching the holes up, and I had said, you know, I'm going home. I'll be back in the morning for the rest of my things. Don't touch anything. He said, okay, fine. And we left it at that.
Is that what happened, Mr. Tyler?
Yeah.
What happened?
I told him that it was unacceptable because when I got there, the fridge still had food in it. There was no cleaning done in the kitchen. The vacuum that was there wasn't even being used on the carpet. I cleaned a bathroom that they never cleaned since we moved in there. It was beyond filthy. I came back to actually patch up the holes in the wall.
What were the holes in the wall from, sir?
From me and parties that they had been at, and I got upset because there was all these kids that were underage drinking, and I have pictures to prove that they were.
Do you have any proof of what this place looked like when you got there?
I have a witness, but she's in the Air Force boot camp right now, and I can't
help you there with that.
I know.
I have no
I'm sorry.
control over the Air Force.
Yes, ma'am, I know.
I like to think I would like to, but I don't. Mr. Tyler,
Yes, ma'am.
you had $440 in security deposit.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get any back?
I had 140, and I have a copy showing the amount which was taken out.
Can I see that, please?
And also at the top, ma'am, this is the part where I had the power turned off, and Mr. Schaefer was supposed to get it turned on in his name. He didn't.
We never
so the apartment
at
took
all.
care of it. The apartment charged me for the water, the trash, the electric that he accumulated.
So you lost your security deposit?
Yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
the added rent was for...
Now, did you patch up the walls?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Because there's nothing here about patched walls.
I have this also that says that there's multiple, or new contact, lots of resident damage into...
Well, it doesn't say here anything about charging you for holes in the wall.
No, that wasn't...
Which means that
but they
you
were
patched
charging-
them. I'm speaking. Listen to what I'm saying to you. It's not here to hurt you. I said there is nothing that indicates from the apartment complex that they are charging you for holes in the wall. That would be a good thing. Then you say, you are right. You are correct, Judge.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Where did you put whatever stuff of his was left outside?
I moved it underneath the stairwell of the upstairs. I covered it with blankets. I wrapped his VCR in bubble wrap. Unfortunately, he said that it rained the next morning in the area.
What happened when you came back the next day? So first of all, what time did you come back to the apartment the next day?
About 9 in the morning.
And what did you find when you got there?
I came there with my girlfriend. This is Nicole. We came there with her truck to get the rest of my stuff, and we came up to the apartment.
Just a second. Step up. Your last name is?
Sierra.
Miss Sierra, when did Mr. Schaefer pick you up?
I came to pick him up with my truck at a little bit before 9 a.m. on June the 1st to go retrieve the rest of our stuff.
Had you been there? What do you mean the rest of your stuff? Had you been living there too?
No, I just...
Some of her stuff was in there. I'm sorry.
Don't speak.
My couch cushions and my vacuum was there.
So my
and-
question is, had you been living there?
No, ma'am.
Had you been staying there?
Yeah.
Don't play with me. Had they used your truck to move the other items? Don't look, listen to me. Don't look at him. Don't you have an independent recollection of this? I asked you, had they used your truck to move out the other items?
Yes, some of the other stuff.
How many days had they used your truck?
Probably about 4 days.
Good. And where were you the night of May 31st?
I was at home.
Doing what?
Resting. I work 30 hours a week, and so I was...
Oy! My God, 30 hours a week! Oh, you must be exhausted. How old are you?
I'm 23.
23, and you work 30 hours
and I
a
go
week?
to school full-time.
Good. What school do you go to?
I just graduated from the North Lake Community College in Dallas, Texas.
Good. So you graduated from college, and I know from college. I mean, I know how many hours a day one goes to college. So 30 hours a week working, you can manage. So you were exhausted.
I wasn't exhausted.
What about you? How exhausted were you? Where do you work?
I worked at Metro Volkswagen.
And you also go to school full-time?
No, I'm not in school currently.
You work 40 hours a week?
Yes, ma'am.
So you work 40 hours a week and don't do anything else. You got a girlfriend who works 30 hours a week and goes to school full time, so you should have been pretty wide awake on the 31st. I don't see what you needed to go to sleep for at 10 o'clock at night. You have no case, sir. He is not obligated to risk his security deposit because you decided you needed an early nap. He secured your stuff as best as he possibly could. If it was ruined by the rain, that's your problem. You should have had it out by May 31st. You owe him $440 for security deposit. Because you lived like pigs, then you have to pay for that. Goodbye.
Employees are excused. You may step out.
Ashley Coggins says she loaned money to ex-boyfriend Daniel Piper so he could buy a 1990 Mustang. Ashley says Daniel has never paid her back.
Ms. Coggins, according to the complaint that I read, you and Mr. Piper lived together for a period of time.
Yes.
And you took out a loan.
Yes.
And the loan was to be primarily used for a car for you. What kind of a car did you buy?
1990 Mustang.
How much did you pay for it?
$3,200.
How much of a loan did you give him?
$4,500.
What'd you do with the rest?
Well, she got a portion of the money, approximately $300 to $400, and the rest of the money I used to plate the car and insure the car.
And then shortly after the loan, the two of you broke up.
Yes.
He made some payments on the loan and then stopped.
Yes.
You want him to pay the loan?
Yes.
Mr. Piper says that he was forced to sell the car, stop making the payments because you moved out of the apartment, leaving him with the lease and the bills. And he couldn't do everything, so he stopped making the car payments.
Well, I paid some payments. I did not.
How many payments did you make?
I believe 4.
And in what amount?
122 and some change.
Does that sound right?
I believe he made 4, but only $55 have been made since the payments were always late. And they were adding the interest and the payments were always late. He's only actually paid $55 on the loan.
Can I see the last statement, please?
Yes.
So I can look at it. Well, the balance is $4,445.20, but some of this is yours.
Right.
Well, let's say there's $4,000 left on the loan. Now, did you both sign a lease for this apartment?
Yes.
When did you sign the lease?
March of 2004.
And when did you move out?
I moved out July of 04.
Are you still in the apartment?
Yes.
What was the rent on the apartment?
$735 a month.
And what was your financial arrangement with regard to the rent?
I was supposed to pay all of the bills, the electric and the cable and the cell phone bills, and him and his brother were supposed to pay the rent. They were supposed to split it.
3 of you living there?
Yes.
Is that right?
My brother did move in, but we were not splitting the rent. That wasn't the agreement.
Yes, it was.
Shh. Why not?
Due to the fact my brother had just got back from the Navy, he was in a tight spot, he needed a place to live. I let him move in with us under the agreement that he would pay $200 a month.
Is he paying $200 a month?
Yes.
Then you're almost whole, sir. If the rent is $735, let him pay half the rent. He's not in a bind anymore.
I understand, but he's
Right.
also not on the lease.
I don't care whether he's on the lease or not. He's living there.
Yes.
I mean, your defense to this whole action with regard to the car is that she left you with the lease, which I would take into consideration, except for the fact that you moved your brother into the apartment and he can pay half the rent. I mean, he's a big boy.
Yeah, but what was I supposed to do when she left the lease, didn't have somebody else move in?
Listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
When you moved into the apartment together,
Mm-hmm.
the two of you, in March of '04, did your brother move in with you
Yes.
at the same time?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
With no agreement that he was to pay at least a third of the rent?
No. The agreement was $200.
Well, you better change the agreement, sir. Circumstances change. He's living there with you. Now, put your hand down. You sold the car.
Correct.
Two.
Kid named John.
Did you put a sign in the window?
No, I didn't.
Well, how did you sell it?
The kid came to my mother's house where the car was parked in the backyard. He had them get a hold of me because he wanted to purchase the car.
You mean it was like Karnak? He said, oh, this must be a car that's for sale?
Well, the person that I bought the car from was friends with this kid. He was looking for that kind of car, so he came to me.
How much did he pay for the car?
How much did he pay for it?
That's my question, sir. It doesn't give you an opportunity to think about an answer.
I just
you should
didn't
know
hear
that. You should know that like that.
Yes,
Don't play with me.
He paid $1,100 for the car.
Why didn't you give that $1,100 to her?
Why would I give it to her?
Well, who's supposed to pay this loan?
Me.
But you haven't been doing that.
At that time, I was still paying the payment.
But then you stopped.
Correct.
So why didn't you give her the $1,100?
Because I was paying the loan at the time. It was.
But then you stopped.
The $1,100 by that point was gone. I mean, the situation I was in, I didn't
Who is this?
have. This is my girlfriend.
What is she here for?
Because she's been the one dealing with Ashley during this whole thing.
Why is she dealing with Ashley?
Because I repeatedly asked her not to call me. If she needed to get a hold of me, I asked her to ask her mother to call me, to email me, or to have...
I don't want to hear you unless I ask you a question.
I repeatedly asked her not to call me.
I'm getting frustrated with you, Mr. Piper.
Okay.
I'm getting frustrated with you, Mr. Piper. Somebody takes out a loan for you. You promise to pay them. You stop paying them. You sell the only equity that exists, which is your car.
Well, to tell you the truth, the car wasn't part of the loan.
Well, what was the loan for?
I'm saying there was no... That wasn't collateral on the loan or anything like that. Okay, this loan was just a personal loan. It wasn't a car loan.
I understand what it was, sir.
Okay.
She took out the loan to enable you to spend $3,200 plus tags and fees to buy a car.
Correct.
Of course I'm correct. You think you're smarter than I am?
No, ma'am.
On your smartest day. You're not as smart as I am on my worst day.
Okay.
What do you want?
I was wondering if I could say something.
Of course. I haven't had lunch.
Well, Danny was with Ashley throughout their whole high school career.
I don't give a... Listen to me.
I
listen to me
understand that.
carefully. I don't give a rat's behind whether they were soulmates in utero.
Okay.
He took money from her.
I understand
Listen,
that.
Try to be quiet and watch my mouth. He took money from her to buy a car. He stopped making payments on the car. He stopped making payments to her for the loan that she took out to enable him to buy a car. And then he has the gall to sell the car and not give her the proceeds.
She lived with Danny, was very unsatisfied with whatever Danny did. Left, did not pay any rent, didn't pay anything, asked him, oh, she is always in contact. Did you pay the rent? Did you pay this? Did you pay that? If you walked out, you are supposed to find someone to take your place. She did not do that. She left Danny with everything. Left him with the rent, the utilities. He had shut-off notices.
Listen to me.
A roof over your head is more important than a loan payment
when
that she
my mouth starts to move, yours is not moving. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Danny has a brother, a big, strong guy who served his country, who came back, and who now has a roof over his head, cable, gas, electric, rent. And these two boys have to manage to pay $735 rent. And they can get that by collecting cans if they need more money. His brother, if he is trying to find a job, can go and work in a fast food place for minimum wage. You can make $350 a month doing that. He has no right not to pay his debts. And if you are making excuses for him,
I'm not.
Good. Then you deserve each other. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all. Step out.
25-year-old Jesse Gabori is suing 23-year-old musician Cameron Davenport for the return of his fee to perform at her party. Jesse claims Cameron's music offended her guests.
Mr. Bora, you hired Mr. Davenport as a DJ to play at a party that you were having. What kind of party was it?
I had a cousin who was moving to Portland, Oregon from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We have a pretty large family in Coeur d'Alene, all very close-knit.
So it was a family party?
Yes, that's correct.
Had you ever heard of Mr. Davenport play before?
No, ma'am.
How did you find him?
I was at a coffee shop. I found a flyer that said, Cameron Bamron, original music and DJ services. It showed a picture of a guy with a ukulele on the front.
Okay, so that's how you found him?
That's correct.
Good. And you hired him to play at a party. You paid him in advance $500?
Yes, ma'am.
And he came to the party. He played for a couple of minutes. He was told to leave.
That's correct.
Because you didn't like his music, and you want your money back.
That's correct.
Mr. Davenport says he came, he played his music. He was totally prepared to comply with the terms of your contract. You told him to leave. He's not giving you any money back. Okay, so On what date did you see his flyer, and on what date did you call him?
July 10th is the date that I was preparing all of the arrangements for the party.
What day was the party?
The 13th of July.
So you only had 3 days to get somebody?
That's correct.
So you called Mr. Davenport from the flyer. And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
I asked if he would be available to do a 5-hour set on the 13th. The party started around 7 p.m. He said that he was available. I asked what type of original music he played. He said experimental. In my experience, experimental doesn't generally mean offensive or explicit.
Don't tell me what your experience is, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking you what you said to him and what he said to you.
He asked me if any children would be present, and I said no, older people, adults.
Okay.
And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. I told him where to show up and when. I was in a huge hurry, so I just kind of pushed forward with it.
So he came, and?
On the day of the party, he arrived, had his sound equipment set up. Everything seemed to be going well. That was the first time I had actually spoken with him in person. He seemed like a, nice guy. Got up on stage, and it was the first song that he sang that really set everyone off. I have a pretty conservative family. It was a large party. I had a lot of grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles,
So it was more experimental than you were used to?
The first lyric of the first song was what really set it off.
Okay. It was not what you expected?
That's correct.
Okay, so what did you do?
I immediately, after about halfway through the first song, I was bombarded with my family members coming up angrily, my friends, family, asking me if it was a joke.
Okay, fine. So?
I retreated to the back of the theater. I informed one of my cousins that he needed to ask Cameron to leave.
Oh, well, and that's what they did. They asked him to leave.
That's
right. So why do you think you're entitled to any money back?
Because he misrepresented himself on the telephone to me.
No, he didn't at all. No, he did not at all.
Never at any time did he mention that his lyrics were explicit or offensive in any manner.
Did you ask? You said, what kind of music came to you? I listened very carefully. You say original music, experimental. According to you, you said, in my opinion, experimental meant, I said, I'm not interested in your opinion. What you do when you hire somebody is you enter into a contract. And especially if the end of one song and you tell somebody to go tell him to leave, instead of saying to him, listen, this is not the kind of music that we want played here. Could you please play something else? And give him the option, just a second, give him the option of saying to you, this is the only kind of music I have. This is the only kind of music I do. But according to you, I listened very carefully. You said you told one of your cousins to go out and tell him to leave, which he did. Did he go get your money back?
Well, he successfully, in under 5 minutes, offended pretty much everyone at the party.
You should have planned better. Should have planned better. What is offensive to some people is not offensive to others. I think that he was very honest with you when you called him, and he said, are there going to be any children at the party? That would have been a clue to a normal person. Okay, now, if I were asked, are there going to be any children at the party? I would say, there aren't going to be children, but there are a lot of older people who have the ears of a child, and if there's going to be any music there that's going to be offensive, we don't want that kind of music.
A few curse words every now and again is a little less offensive than the lyrics that this man used in front of these people.
That is your problem. He did not breach your contract. He showed up, he played his experimental music, which is what he told you he was going to play, and he couldn't book another gig after you fired him. So you have to be more careful.
Your Honor?
What?
I do have a copy of my lyrics to just one of my songs that I do.
I don't do experimental lyrics.
All right.
If it's not Sinatra or Feinstein, I don't do it. Got it?
Okay.
But I think that you were very honest with her. You said, I do original experimental music, and are there going to be any children there? Did you get paid, sir?
Yes.
You worked for 20 minutes?
Well, I played for about 20 minutes. It takes a good half hour to set up and break everything down.
So by the hour, you made more than you ever made before. Is that right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
25-year-old Rayanne Fisher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brandon Wolf, for writing a bad check on a shared bank account.
Miss Fisher, this young man used to be your boyfriend, and you actually lived together. You made the mistake, because you didn't listen to Mother, of opening up a joint bank account with him while you were living together. And after you broke up, he wrote out a check. There was no money in the account, but there was evidently one of those privileges that allows you to write checks even though you don't have money in the account, and you were forced to pay the check because there was no money in the account. And you wanted to pay the money back, plus whatever fees were charged to you. Mr. Wolf has an interesting defense and an interesting counterclaim. First, let's discover when you broke up. Date.
The date was July 11th of 06.
And when did you write out this check?
I don't actually have the actual date of it.
But I'm sure you do.
Yes, I do. July 16th of 06.
After the bloom was off the rose, right? And at the time, Mr. Wolf, were you aware of the fact that there was no money in the account?
Yes, I was.
So tell me why you did that, sir.
First,
First, tell me why you did it. Then tell me why you don't think you're responsible to pay her back the money for it. And then we'll get to your counterclaim.
Okay. I set up with the finance company to where it was a post-dated check.
For what?
For a down payment on my Jeep.
So you gave the finance company a post-dated check?
Yes.
And?
And I had plans on putting the money in the account within the 2 weeks of my next paycheck.
Yes.
By that time, she had already paid this off.
Well, they had to have deposited the check. What do you mean, Mr. Wolf? I want you to try to clear out the fuzzies in your brain. Now, if you had put the money in the account before they cashed the check, there would be no problem. She wouldn't have known anything, right? So you didn't put the money in the account.
No.
Or the finance company cashed the check before they were supposed to.
Correct.
Well, which one is it? I gave you two choices. They can't be both correct.
They actually cashed the check before the post date.
Well, so the bank probably shouldn't have done that, right?
Right.
But you had the money.
Right. It was a misunderstanding.
Fine. So why didn't you give Miss Fisher back the money? Since you had the money, let me give it to you this way. You had the money. That's what you told me.
Right.
You were going to put it in the bank.
Correct.
Your finance company, for your truck, deposited the check early. That's what you're telling me.
Correct.
But you had the money. What's your first name?
Rayanne.
Say to Rayanne, Rayanne, I'm sorry, this was all a misunderstanding. I have the money. I'm going to give you back whole. Why didn't you give her back the money?
Well, what happened is on my Jeep, I ended up getting it repoed from me.
What month?
It was August, I think.
So we're talking about now in July. July, you had the money
Right.
to pay the down payment, so why didn't you just give it to Rayanne, who paid the overdraft protection on the truck?
I never asked her to pay it.
Who cares? You had it. Why didn't you take care of it?
I didn't feel I had to.
Standing here today, do I change your mind, sir?
No.
Well, then you're an idiot. You the girlfriend?
I'm the fiance.
Fiance. I think twice about making babies with him. Listen. Your debt, your problem. You had the money.
Right.
I also don't believe that a finance company takes a post-dated check and allows you to take a car. That is a lot of who shot John. So, now that I've already determined that you owe her the money, how much money does he owe you?
$592.90.
$592.92. That's what you owe her. Now I am prepared, sir, to listen to your counterclaim.
What happened is I was in the hospital for a week, and one of my payments fell through on my Jeep.
Another payment fell through.
Yes.
Like an accident looking to happen.
They sent a tow truck to her house.
To whose house?
Rand's house.
Why would they think it's at her house?
Because it was registered under the address.
So the tow truck came to the house and said, where's the truck? Go ahead.
She brought the tow truck over to my sister's house, had it towed, sat in...
No. She didn't have anything towed.
Oh. She brought the tow truck over to my sister's
They
house.
said, where is this car?
Right.
And she said, it's not here. Maybe it's at his sister's house. I'll show you where that is. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So
correct.
what?
She sat in the parking lot also, took pictures, sent them to me on my phone, and also put them up on her MySpace page.
So what? So what?
I didn't feel that was right.
Maybe she would have felt more kindly if she wasn't out $600 for your truck while you're fooling around with your new fiancé. Do you understand? One
Yes,
good
ma'am.
turn deserves another. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $592.92. Thank you.
As long as I excuse, you may step out.
Crystal Hardison is suing fellow motorist Robert Jarvis for vandalizing her Ford Explorer by kicking it. Crystal claims her mother witnessed the incident.
Ms. Hardison, what kind of car do you drive?
It's a 2005 Ford Explorer.
95 Mitsubishi Galant.
What was the date of this incident?
June 2nd.
And you were going into a drugstore to get a prescription filled?
Exactly.
And what were you going to do there, Mr. Jarvis?
I was pulling in to get her my fiance a drink and a candy bar.
Was she with you?
Yes.
And you were both going to the same store, so you pulled in first?
Yes.
And it is your claim that Mr. Jarvis intentionally not only spit on your car, but also dented it?
Yes.
Mr. Jarvis says he might have spit on it, not intentionally, but he certainly didn't dent it. And your mother was with you?
Exactly. And my 11-month-old son.
Well, he's not here to testify, but your mother certainly is. When you went into the store, Miss Hardison, your mother remained in the car?
Exactly.
And when you went into the store, did your fiancée remain in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
She pulled in first.
She was already parked.
Tell me what she was doing, Mr. Jarvis.
Well, as I was pulling in, I was waiting on her for about 2 to 3 minutes while she was brushing her hair with the door open in the parking place.
So you were waiting to pull in because she had the big door open for this SUV, brushing her hair?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you waiting?
2 to 3 minutes tops.
Did you honk the horn?
No, I was just sitting there waiting to get in, being patient.
Why were you brushing your hair?
I'm pretty vain. So before I go anywhere, I always put my makeup on, brush my hair.
You were going to pick up a prescription?
Exactly. And that's my nature. If I'm going to a local store, I'll put clothes on, do my hair, and put my makeup on.
Hadn't you done all that before you went in?
I sure
before
did,
you
but
got
I
into
just
the
wanted
car?
to make sure everything was straight.
Didn't you see Mr. Jarvis waiting for you?
At the time that I opened my door to get my brush out my purse, no, I didn't.
But there came a time when you did see him waiting for you.
I saw a front end of a car behind mine, yes.
And you continued to finish brushing your hair and then you put the brush back?
No. Once I saw the front end of the car, I said, oh, he's waiting, and I closed my door and went directly into CVS.
What happened when you came out?
I got to my driver's side door, and I saw there was spit on the window. I opened my door. I said, Mom, somebody spit on my window. And she can tell you the rest.
Step up, please. What is your last name?
Durante.
Tell me what happened that day on the 2nd of June in the parking lot.
Okay, on the 2nd of June, my daughter had to go to the pharmacist to pick up a prescription. And she got out of the car, opened the passenger side.
That's we got past the fact that she was brushing her hair to make sure she looked perfect.
Okay.
Never know who you're going to meet in the pharmacy.
Exactly.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, Crystal came out. She says, Mom, who spit on my car? I said, don't worry. I got his tag number. I was sitting in the car on the passenger side watching an incident on Route 1 to my right, and I see this man walk up to the car and just cover the window with spit. I said, I'm going to get his tag number. I went to get my purse. When I went down to get my purse, the whole car, Judge Judy, just like, yes. I looked up, I saw him, I heard his door, bam, slam. He was going, he closed his door and walked behind his car and got into the driver's side.
Okay, so a passenger door slam, and then he walked around to get into the driver's side?
Yes.
And the passenger side door was where your car was?
Yes.
Got it. Now, do you have any proof of damage to your car?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Because, Mr. Jarvis, I'm going to save you the trouble, sir. According to your answer, you were having sinus problems that day, so
Yes,
you
ma'am.
spit.
Yes.
You don't know where it landed.
No, I didn't have no intention of spitting on the vehicle. No.
It was just a bad sinus.
Yes, I had sinuses all
And
like that.
you caused no damage to the plaintiff's car.
Absolutely not.
Now I'd like to see the... Okay. See, I'm going to save you all that trouble.
Your car's green.
My car's green.
But your boot isn't damaged.
And besides, my car door don't go that high.
It may not have been your car, sir.
And I was never on that side of the vehicle. I was driving.
Mr. Jarvis, what you're asking me to do is to say to this lady that she's lying. Now, common sense, which is really what we're about here, suggests to me that you were annoyed at this young lady.
No, actually, I wasn't.
Well...
I was being patient.
Well, listen. Then you are the only one I know who, under those circumstances, wouldn't be annoyed. I would be infuriated.
But to be cussed and belligerent...
Just a minute. I would be infuriated if I was sitting there patiently and somebody was not just putting a baby in a car, because that you wait for, you know, adjusting a car seat or whatever, but somebody standing there with an open door, primping and brushing their hair while I'm waiting to get into a parking space would rile the out of me. I can't even tell you what it would do to my husband.
Can I speak?
Sure.
Can I have her come up?
If you want to.
I'd just like to say that night when the police contacted us, the only thing that they said was that he spit on the window. When he called back to the police department, the police officer said that this was ridiculous and dropped it. 30 days later, we received it stating that there was damage. Why that night? Was there no record at the police department?
I
of
have
any
no
damage?
idea. Maybe they couldn't see it.
And she drove all the way home and the spit stayed on the window?
Listen to me.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Does she listen to me? my
Free
dear.
money. That's
I'm
what they're
speaking.
trying to get.
Does she look psychotic to you? No, listen to me. Not the daughter who was primping, who has to comb her hair before she goes to pick up a prescription. I'm talking about her mother.
I'm going to tell you, I'm a nurse. People are psychotic all the time and they don't look
Listen
it.
to me. Well, listen. I've been around twice as long as you have. This lady is not psychotic. This lady did not take down your tags and report this matter to the police because she was having a psychotic episode. That's my judgment. Now, let me see how much it costs to fix your car.
Okay. I have two estimates.
You have a 10-year-old car.
$578 for Windex is a little ridiculous.
Oh, it has nothing to do with Windex?
There's no dent caused by him. That is definite.
That's just trying to get free money, is what it is.
I never got out that car, so nobody was ever on that side of the car at any point. I was in that passenger side of that car.
Nobody suggested that you did any damage to the car, madam. Cheaper of the estimate is $369.80. Is that right?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $369.80. That's all.
25-year-old Leah Miller is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old waitress Angelica Simpson, for her share of the furniture purchased for their apartment.
Miss Miller, you and Miss Simpson were friends and roommates for a while. You claimed that when she moved out, she took half the furniture in the apartment that you had both purchased on a credit card.
Correct.
You are stuck with the credit card, and she took half the furniture.
Correct.
Ms. Simpson says she did not take half the furniture.
Correct.
She only took a bed.
A bedroom set.
Bed. And she left items there that are worth far more than the bed that she took. Now, when did you move in together?
February of 2005.
Was it a one-year lease?
It was actually 15 months.
And when did you move out?
I left the last weekend in January.
And that was by agreement?
Correct.
When did you purchase the furniture?
February of 2005.
What did you purchase?
She purchased a bedroom set. I purchased a bedroom set.
When you say she purchased a bedroom set and you purchased one, were they purchased on two different credit cards or one credit card?
No, they did a joint account for both of us. So we were both liable for it.
Okay. Continue.
I also purchased a living room set, and she purchased her bedroom set, which included a bed, a dresser, an end table, a mattress. I purchased the same thing, plus a living room set, which included a couch, a coffee table, an ottoman, and a love seat.
Okay, go ahead.
One night, I came home, and I saw her and her friends playing quarters on my brand new coffee table. I confronted her about it.
When you say you purchased the living room furniture,
yes,
were you jointly paying the bill with her?
We had separated her cost from my cost, and we came up with an agreement that she would pay me $60 a month for her portion, and then I would pay the rest.
She only has responsibility for the bedroom furniture.
Correct.
And that's all that you're suing for.
Well, also, as the time went on, as we were living together, I found things missing from my room.
I don't care about things missing from your room.
Well, I had to purchase a lock to put on there, and I came home with her playing games on my...
Listen to me. I don't care if you had to put a lock on your room. I read it. You had to put a lock on your room for $2?
It was actually 15. Yeah.
In the scheme of things, you're talking about nothing.
Well, I had things missing from my room. Shirts, underwear, I had missing from my room.
Good. I'm not bothering with that.
Yeah. Okay.
You had other people living there, other people staying there, other people staying over. Don't bother me with nonsense. You hear about furniture.
Well,
Don't throw in the kitchen sink to a lawsuit because judges get irritated, especially this one. Okay. How much was your bedroom furniture?
The whole set together was around $1,300. It was like $1,300 and some change. Actually, Your Honor, I have evidence that hers was $1,412. That would be including the tax, probably.
$1,412. And how much of that did you pay, Miss Simpson?
I started paying her when I moved out. Like I said, I left a TV there that I had purchased for $500. There's also entertainment center, dishes, mirrors, things of that nature that were there that I had left there that I didn't take.
Just a second. Did you have, Miss Simpson, any agreement?
Yes.
Listen, you're not letting me finish my sentence. Did you have an agreement with Miss Miller that in lieu of paying Bill $1,412, you were going to leave items in the apartment?
No.
Then I'm not interested in what you left.
But that's where I was going with this. I had moved out of the apartment and had paid her $55 for so-on months. Then...
Just a second.
You talk very...
didn't start...
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
You paid her $55 a month for how many months?
It was for 6 months.
Okay.
No.
Shh, just a second. $55 a month for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay, that would be $330.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Then I'm a waitress, so I make all my money in tips, and I was paying her in cash. A incident arose with my mom when she pointed out that it was both my name and Miss Miller's name on the contract. So if I was paying her the money, how would I know that she was paying it to More Furniture? So I went into More Furniture and wanted to separate my name for her name on the account. They told me I was not allowed to do that.
Correct.
And that if we didn't pay off the money by the date with no interest, we would have to pay all of the back interest. When I brought this up to her, she did not want to give me receipts for the back payments, nor she had also moved out of the state and had given me a P.O. box where I could send her money, but I wasn't getting anything in return for paying her money. So my agreement was, well, if you're not...
What do you mean your agreement?
Or my side of it was, if you're not going to be proving to me that I'm paying you and give me a copy of the statement, then I will pay the money directly to More Furniture, but not to you.
So
you don't need to be the middleman.
Did you do that?
No, because she hasn't been making the payments. They told me that...
Don't tell me what they told you.
Okay.
Do you have your statement?
Yeah, I have all the statements right here.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Here's the statement.
Sorry. How much money, if any, did she give you after she moved out?
$320.
No, she's making the payments.
Well, and this is my issue is, like you said, my furniture and her furniture is together, and there wasn't a minimum payment. So when or if it's not paid off, it's still gonna hurt my credit. That's what I'm saying. I have no problem paying the furniture. That's not the issue. I will pay the furniture and More Furniture. It was contacting Leah to make the payment.
But right now it's more than $1,412 because right now they've added interest.
Right.
Right.
But they won't separate us from each other. That's why.
So there's just a second. Well, she's paying something. You're paying nothing.
Sure. No, and I understand that. But
but you have to pay something, madam. Where are you sleeping?
Well, I have a house.
You're sleeping on the bed.
Yes.
So you have to pay something.
I understand that. But I have an agreement with More Furniture to pay the furniture.
I don't see that. Where are you standing there all by yourself with a big smile? Where is the agreement that you have with More Furniture?
I can't get a copy of it because my name and her name's on it without her permission.
Just a second. So how can you have an agreement without a copy of the contract?
Well, that would be the original contract.
No.
Okay.
$1,412 less $320 is $1,092.
Can I say something?
Sure.
In the months that I have been paying it, I've had to pay extra, and I was working 2 jobs to, I know it's $60.
That's good for you.
But I have had back payments and all this stuff that I've had to come up with.
Good. That's what happens when you act stupid and take out a joint credit card with somebody. She owes you $1,092. And as soon as you receive that money, you will sign an agreement with her that the court will prepare that you are totally indemnifying her against any claim by Miller Furniture for this furniture, and they can deduct forthwith from your salary or your income tax refund, if any. Okay. You do work, don't you?
Yes.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,092. Wait around to sign the contract. Thank you.
Patricia Hayward is suing her niece, Patricia Green, for unpaid rent, late fees, and utility bills. The defendant says she couldn't afford to pay.
Miss Hayward, this is your niece.
Yes.
Is it your sister's daughter?
No, this is my ex-husband's niece.
How long have you known her?
I've known her since 1973.
According to your complaint, your niece has had some difficulty in the past, but you allowed her to move in with you because she needed a place to stay.
Correct.
The agreement was that she pay rent. How much rent were you supposed to pay?
$500.
$500 a month. And what did that include, Miss Green?
It just said for rent. I have the rental agreement.
Can I see it, please? You agreed to pay my rent on the 3rd of each month. This is the rental agreement you gave me, right? It doesn't say what amount you're going to pay. How could you do a rental agreement without the amount of rent?
She didn't write it down. This is what she gave me.
This is what you signed. Do you have another renter's agreement?
This is it.
People really need a form for rental agreements. I should really do that. It would help people. She wrote the $500 in afterwards. You wrote the $500
We
in
wrote
afterwards?
the 5 in after she signed it. We were both sitting there, and we said, oh, she's the one that brought up, Trisha's
Listen
the
to
one
me.
that brought up.
Her copy doesn't have 500.
I know. I
All
do
right,
know that.
Fine. So let's say we all
Okay.
agree it's
Okay,
$500 a month rent. This is what it's about. She moved out. She didn't pay you rent. You want the rent. You threw her out because she stopped paying rent. So you want her to pay rent and utilities. Forget utilities because your agreement doesn't provide for utilities. $500 a month rent. Did you pay rent each month that you were there?
Yes, I did.
When did you move in?
September of '06.
When did you move out?
February 1st of '08.
Why?
Because I was locked out.
You were locked out because you didn't do what?
I got laid off and wasn't able to come up with the rent.
Well, so then the answer is you didn't pay rent.
For the last month.
Which month?
November. Well, I paid in November and December I didn't pay.
You didn't pay in December and you didn't pay in January.
Correct.
So that's 2 months you didn't
But
pay.
I was making payments on it while I didn't have a job. I paid $300 out of my last check, and I sold my belongings and got money to pay for that, and I cleaned the restroom. I mean, I was trying to pay it off.
Clean the restroom. I'm just asking you, the last rent that you paid, you say, was in November?
Yes, but it was $500. So really, I only owed 1 month.
Well, that's what you're supposed to pay, $500. If you paid $500 in November, then you owe December and January. And you were kicked out February 1st.
I paid all November.
I understand that, but you didn't pay December, which is a whole month.
Right.
And January, which is a whole month.
Correct. But
So
I
then-
paid for December then. I was making payments.
When did she make her last rent payment to you?
She didn't pay December, January, and she left in February.
So 2 months?
Yes.
That's what you want?
Yes.
Well, that's what it appears she didn't pay. So you lost your job.
Yeah.
And that's why you didn't pay.
Correct.
Do you have a job now?
Yes, I do.
Great. You owe her $1,000.
Fine.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000.
Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Your
That's
Honor.
all.
Taylor Davy claims ex-roommate Camelia Hansen owes for rent and bills. Camelia is countersuing, claiming Taylor and another roommate stole her clothes.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 76 on the calendar in the matter of Davy versus Hansen.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a
Who are
seat.
the three roommates? Raise your paws. Very good. Ms. Davy, according to your complaint, you, this young lady, and this young lady decided to lease an apartment together. You signed the lease for how long?
Till August 10th, 6 months.
And you were going to share the rent.
Yes, we were going to split it 3 ways equally.
According to your complaint, you moved in February 2000 and?
We moved in the last week of January 2007, and...
But the rent started in February.
Well, we paid a little extra for the last week. We paid $100 extra.
All right.
Well, I did.
That's not, I never knew anything about that. Okay.
So, your complaint alleges that Miss Hansen did not pay her rent for February and did not pay her rent in March.
Right.
And then you did what?
She called me one night asking to get into the house, and I was busy. I wasn't at home, so I didn't let her in. And I told her that I wasn't going to let her back into the house until she paid me the money that she owed me.
So you locked her out.
Well, she was locked out. I didn't try to intentionally lock her out. She didn't offer to come pick up a key to get into the house, and I knew she could...
that's something I don't quite understand. You have an apartment, there are 3 of you on the lease, and only 2 keys. Who wants to explain to me why there were only 2 keys? Yes.
There were only 2 keys because we were the only ones on the lease. Brittany wasn't on the lease.
And there's no way that you could have made a 3rd key?
We
Don't
could
you?
have, but I just let Brittany use my key because she was working late one night and she needed to get in, and I was at my boyfriend's house.
Why didn't you go to a locksmith and make a 3rd key? I don't understand that. How?
I don't know. We could have done that, but didn't.
Anyway.
So we
you
didn't
locked
have
her
the
out.
3 keys.
You
She
locked
was
her
locked
out.
out.
You locked her out, and now you want your rent.
Yeah, she owes me
Fine.
for 2 months of
Okay.
rent.
Now, Ms. Hansen says that she told you that she could not afford February's rent, and then she was going to pay you in March, but you locked her out first. But most at the
Actually,
beginning
Your
of my
Honor-
diet, that didn't require an answer.
Well,
I'm speaking.
that statement was incorrect.
Well, I said what she said happened is this. So now you have to be quiet. You have to sort of dust out the cobwebs. Now I'm telling you what her defense is. Do you understand?
I do.
She has a counterclaim. She says that you locked her out but took her property, took her clothes. And she can prove that because some of the clothes that belong to her you are wearing on a website on the internet.
Not Taylor, Brittany was.
Brittany, one of whatever, and she wants her clothes back.
That doesn't
Now,
have anything to do with me.
That also didn't require an answer. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Was that a question or an answer?
An answer?
And what do you do for a living?
I waitress and cook at the World Cafe.
And what do you do, Miss Anson?
I work at a coffee shop.
And you?
I'm front desk clerk at the Holiday Inn.
How old are you?
19.
19.
You moved out when in March?
The very first week of March.
Give me the date.
I think it was the 2nd.
No, it wasn't. No.
No, I think...
Now, let's not play with each other. You didn't pay March's rent on the 1st. You didn't pay March's rent on the 2nd. When did you call her and tell her you wanted to get into the house?
It was the first Thursday of March, so...
I have down that happened on the 7th of March.
Sounds right.
Okay, well then I was mistaken.
Not the 1st or 2nd. So you lived there 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Why didn't you pay March's rent?
Because the rent was due on the 6th. And I told her that I couldn't give her March rent until like that weekend. Because
Why?
Because my mom was giving me money for it because I didn't have a job at the time. And my mom got
Why did
paid
you
that
move into
weekend.
an apartment if you didn't have a job?
Because they needed me to be on the lease to get the apartment.
Well, they did.
Because
Listen
Brittany
to
couldn't
me,
get on the
Miss
lease.
Hanson. Miss Hanson. They don't need an unemployed teenager to sign on the lease. Listen to me carefully. They don't need an unemployed teenager to sign on a lease in order for a landlord to say, oh, now they're really responsible because we have 3 teenagers, only one of whom has a job, maybe. That's not why they needed you to sign on, unless you had a job.
No, not the leasing company needed me to sign on. Taylor needed me to sign on the lease so she could get the apartment because Brittany couldn't get a co-signer, and I got a co-signer.
Who co-signed for you?
My mom.
Oh,
That's
great.
false.
Perfect.
I wouldn't have been able to get on the lease without a co-signer.
But she forged the co-signers.
That's
so.
not true at
Just
all.
shh. Cute. They're cute. They should still be home and under somebody else's roof, but they're cute. Listen, you have to pay rent. You live in an apartment, you have to pay rent.
I totally agree.
Right, so you owe February and March's rent.
I didn't live there for March. She kicked me out at the beginning of March.
No, you lived there the first week in March.
Then I would have paid her the first week of March, that like day by day that I lived there, but they kicked me out of my house.
No, listen to me. I'm going to get to your counterclaim in a second. Okay. You may not be disappointed, but I have to explain to you that when you live in an apartment, you can't be a baby. And if you sign a lease and if you're supposed to pay rent, you say the first of the month you have to pay rent. And you don't take on the responsibility of an apartment unless you can afford it. Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes, I am.
Who lives there?
I found 2 roommates on Craigslist.
Are they okay?
Yeah, they're great.
Where is she living?
Eureka, I believe. California.
Okay, so she left.
Yes. She moved out at the beginning of April.
Okay, did she pay rent in February?
Yes.
Did she pay rent in March?
Yes. Yeah. She didn't pay right then, but she's paid me back.
So you covered it?
Yes.
For both of them?
Well, I covered it at the start of the month because she got her paycheck like the 2nd week or something, so she didn't have it right then.
And what was everybody's share of the rent?
$250.
Okay, now, you're going to tell me about your clothes.
Well, the day that they locked me out, told me that I couldn't come back.
Should have had your own key.
I had my own key. I let Brittany use it.
That's
she
your
didn't
problem.
have her own key.
No, that's your problem. You
Okay.
should have had your own key. Then nobody can lock you out.
I went and got my own key after that, after they locked me out for a day.
Fine, so you went and got your own key, so you weren't locked out.
Yeah, but that day that they locked me out, they told me that they were kicking me out. I couldn't live
Well,
there
they
anymore.
could have told you that, but that's
So
not true. They can't kick you out because you're on the lease.
Well, I didn't want to live there anymore after that anyway because they were
Being rude to you.
Yeah, and they were bullying me.
Okay.
So I went the next day to get my things, and I had to get a key from the leasing office, and my room had been gone through. Half of my closet was empty. He was there. He can vouch for me. I asked them for my things back. They had put locks on their doors, and they wouldn't give me anything back and said that they didn't have anything. A couple weeks later, a friend of mine was showing me Brittany's MySpace pictures, and she was wearing my underwear on a photo of her topless and just in underwear, and they were mine.
You recognized your underpants?
Yeah.
You recognize your underpants?
They're like specialty kind. They're not just like regular white underwear. They're like, you can buy them from like a boutique.
Miss Davy, just for my own edification, did you put a picture of yourself?
Oh, me? No. I don't do that.
Who did? This one.
Brittany.
Raise your hand if you put up a naked picture of yourself.
I'm not
on-
naked. In the
What is it?
I'm in underwear. They're my underwear. They're not her underwear. I don't know why she.
Why would you put? Stand up.
Why would she put underwear?
Please. Why would you put a picture of yourself on the internet in your underwear?
Photography thing. He wanted American Apparel looking pictures, and there was one in my underwear.
Very stupid.
Okay.
You live to regret that when you're 30, maybe even when you're 25. Have you done anything like that again?
No.
Yes. Before?
No.
Maybe. No. Just once?
No, well, like there was more than one picture, but it's not that big of a deal, I don't think.
It is a big deal. You have to think about what you're doing. There are all kinds of perverts and creepy people out there that sort of surf the internet looking for dumb young girls who put up pictures of themselves in their underwear or worse. Don't do it again.
Okay.
Sit down. Do you have any other proof that you took your clothes?
I don't really have proof that they took my clothes, but I have a list of some of the clothes that they took, and along with stealing my clothes, they posted things about me on the internet. Like, they made a couple websites about me, saying really, really horrible things. They've been harassing me. It's just showing what kind of people they are. They're not good girls. They're not good people. And they stole all my clothing, locked me out of my house, and are harassing me for it.
No, I don't.
I don't know whether she does or whether she doesn't.
I have a pair of Roxy jeans and a pair of Gap jeans that were given to me by her because they were a size 5, which doesn't fit her.
That's not true. I never gave her any clothes.
She wants them back.
She can have them.
They've been denying that they've had anything this
I
whole
haven't
time.
been
Listen to me, I have no time or to have less patience for this. You owe her $500 for rent for February and March. You're going to send her back her 2 pairs of jeans and anything else you might find that belongs to her. Do you get it?
I do.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helzer stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother Lori are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
You are suing Mrs. Hessler because her 16-year-old daughter, according to you, stood you up for the prom.
Yes.
For your senior prom. And you had a lot of expenses, and you believe that her mother is responsible for her standing you up.
No, not necessarily, Your Honor. I don't
Well,
feel
she's
that...
responsible because you can't sue her daughter, so you have to sue her mother. Ms. Hessler says that her daughter did not stand you up, that you didn't should, but she has a substantial counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that since you believed you were stood up for the prom, you have embarked upon a course of conduct that amounts to harassment and defamation of her daughter's character, which forced her to leave school because she flunked all of her finals, and it became a catastrophe, and she has a counterclaim. When did you invite Dana to the prom?
About May 20th.
Did you do it in person?
No, ma'am. I was introduced to her through a friend of mine. It was her best friend, and I was on the internet, and she instant messaged me. She sent me a message, and...
Who did?
Diana.
Diana sent you a message.
Right.
Saying what?
Just starting a conversation, just, hi, my name is Diana, something to that effect.
So you didn't ask her to the prom?
I did. Eventually, I did.
In person or over the internet?
Over the internet and in person.
Is that right?
I don't remember him asking me in person to prom, no.
How do you believe he asked you to the prom?
Over the internet, we were discussing the fact that he needed to date, and he said, you know, do you want to go with me, basically? And, I said,
and what did you say?
I said, okay.
You said, okay, so now you had a date. And you knew when you go to the same school?
Yes.
So you knew when the prom was?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to buy, you rented a tux?
No, I bought a tux.
Bought a tux. Figure stopped growing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Buy tickets?
Yes, Your Honor.
Rented a car?
No. I was gonna drive.
Okay. Tux, tickets. What else?
I also had dinner reservations. There was no fee for making the reservations, but there was for canceling reservations.
And what were all your expenses?
My expenses totaled to be, I believe, about $500 and some odd dollars.
How did you end up going to the prom, Mr. Banks?
No, ma'am.
Did not?
No.
Tell me what happened. What was the date of the prom?
Saturday, June 4th.
And just prior to June 4th, when had you last spoken with Diana?
June 3rd.
Where did you speak to her?
I spoke with her at school.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I informed her that I'd be getting everything ready. And
Did she tell you what color her dress was?
Yes, it was pink.
Did she tell you what kind of flowers she liked?
No, ma'am.
Did you get the flowers?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of flowers did you get?
I got a bouquet of roses, and I got a corsage and a hand thing. I don't know.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9.
Did you tell her what time you'd pick her up?
Yes, Your Honor. I told her I'd be there to pick her up at 4.
So what happened, Mr. Banks?
Saturday, I had been running around picking things up, doing everything, getting everything ready. I hadn't spoken with her, but I had been speaking with her best friend, the one that set us up, and my best friend, because we were going to double date to prom. I had been with her friend's date all day, and I was on my way to pick her up, and I got a phone call from her friend saying that she had an allergy attack and she couldn't go to prom.
What time was that?
I'd have to say about 3:50.
Go ahead.
I was getting ready for prom at about 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Got dressed, went and got my nails done, and I made my hair appointment. I went and picked up my dress. When I was getting my nails done, I did have an allergy attack, and I went home and I tried to call John after talking to my mom. I called him and his sister answered saying that he would be out with friends all night. So I decided, okay, I'm going to stay home for a while. A friend of mine called and said, Diana, or aren't you going to go to prom? And I said, no, I don't feel good. She says, would you like to come over, hang out, and we're not going to go do anything? And I said, okay. We ended up going over to another friend's house, just relaxing and watching movies the rest of the night, and we fell asleep.
Well, that's pretty outrageous, my dear Diana. That's pretty outrageous of you. You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
You agree with I disagree.
Excuse me, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to your daughter, whose conduct was outrageous. Now, if you have an allergy attack and you are bedridden, that's one thing. But to go over to a friend's house, hang out and watch a movie is something entirely different. And I would be angry too if I got stood up at the last minute.
I had not yet given my permission for them to go.
I don't care.
Okay.
Whether you gave your permission or not. Did she use her own money to buy the dress?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't know about it?
I did know about it.
All right. And when you found out about it, did you say to her, I haven't given you permission?
Yes, ma'am.
When she went to get her hair and nails done, did you say to her, don't bother to have your hair and nails done because I haven't given you permission?
What I said was I haven't yet met Mr. Banks and I haven't given my permission. I need to meet him.
Miss Helsa, it's not an excuse. I'm saying that your daughter's conduct was reprehensible for a 16-year-old. She stood him up for his prom.
Okay.
And she stood him up not because she was sick, because she decided she didn't want to go. And she went to a friend's house and hung out with friends. And that is reprehensible.
Is that what you did?
No.
Is that what you did?
That is what I did.
You didn't know that?
Did you stand him up because you didn't want to go, or did you stand him up because you went and had an allergy attack and then went over to Julie's house?
It was because I had an allergy attack and my friend had wanted me to come over because she knew I wasn't feeling well and wanted to hang out.
Listen to me. If you have a debilitating allergy attack, you stay home. Go ahead.
That Saturday was prom, June 4th. June 5th, I broke my rib, June 5th playing basketball, and so June 6th, I stayed home, which was a Monday. I called her best friend on the phone. We talked about it because she felt bad as well because she set us up together. And I decided to call Mrs. Helser, and we spoke on the phone for a while. She was a really nice lady, and she also felt that what she did was inappropriate. And I know that she's not legally obligated to pay me back because, you know, it's an agreement to go to a social event and that's not a contract. However, her mother being of age and me being of age, she did make a verbal contract over the phone, and I have a witness here. Her best friend is here to testify because she was on the phone when I called her.
What did her mother say?
We spoke about what Diana really did on prom night.
Well, what did you say to her mother? Her mother's here. She's a party. You can tell me what you said to her mother.
I told her that I had an agreement to go to prom with her, and she informed me that she was aware of that Diana actually had an allergy attack, and I told her no, that Diana actually decided to spend the day with her boyfriend because I guess apparently she got a boyfriend that morning, and he asked her not to go.
She got a boyfriend that morning?
Yeah, Saturday morning she got a boyfriend, and she decided, and he asked her not to go. So, you know, and that's perfectly fine. But
Are you saying that somebody knows that? That you have a witness here?
That I was on the phone and that she told her that? Yes, I have a witness here.
I'd like to see the witness.
Raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes.
State your name for the record.
Kayla Brett.
Kayla, are you a friend of hers?
Not anymore, but I was.
Were you the girl who was supposed to double date with them?
Yes.
You had originally set them up? Did you have a conversation with Diana with regard to why she didn't go to the prom with him?
Yes, I did. I called her to make sure that she was ready to go because John was on his way, and she had informed me that she did not want to go.
Did she say why she didn't want to go?
She said she had an allergy attack, but as I continued to talk to her later on that day before my date came to pick me up, she told me that, or I think it was June 5th, that she told me she had spent the night at her boyfriend's house.
What boyfriend?
His name is Jason.
So she said she spent the evening with Jason?
Yes.
Prom evening with Jason?
Yes. She also had, there's a website called MySpace. I don't know if you're familiar. It's
I don't do that machine.
It's a website where you go and you can write journal entries on there, leave comments for friends, and post pictures up there. She had left a blog explaining what she had done that day, and she said that she was at a friend's house roasting marshmallows and she had spent the night there. That's basically confirmed that what she was doing, and I did have a conversation with her, and I was quite upset, and I told her everything, how messed up it was that she had done that.
That's pretty messed up. Did you tell your mother that? Look at me. Did you tell your mother you were going to spend the night with Jason?
I told my mom I was going to spend the night over at Julie's, and I told my mom that we were going over to Jason's to watch a movie. And
your mother just said the word Julie. I never heard your mother say Jason. Your mother was whispered to you, you went to Julie's.
I did go to Julie's, ma'am. We went over to Jason's, who was not my boyfriend.
Just a second. So from Julie's house, you went to Jason's house? Mm-hmm. Didn't have an attack in between getting from Julie's house to Jason's house, did you?
They're neighbors, no.
Didn't have an attack between Julie's house and Jason's house, did you?
No, ma'am.
And she did call me and checked in, and she called at midnight and let me know that they were just about to finish up a movie and that she would be back at Julie's by 1.
When you spoke to Mr. Banks on the phone 2 days later, did you tell him that you would compensate him for his expenses?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What did you say to him?
I said I needed to see receipts.
So you did discuss expenses?
We discussed expenses.
Fine, and you said I needed to see receipts.
Before I would even consider a discussion.
I don't believe you.
Seriously.
I don't believe you. Yep, I believe that you said to him, I will pay those expenses, but I have to see receipts.
I have emails here where he's saying that I agreed to pay $270 for prom tight. Diana said, quote, Diana said she's going to pay me $270 for prom. Hit me up. And then to Kayla, who responded, I say $300 even. What's an extra $30?
Listen, what I said to you was you had a discussion with Mr. Banks, and you are under no legal obligation. I don't believe you are under a legal obligation, but for the fact that you agreed to pay him.
I didn't agree to pay him.
Your Honor.
Just a second. In order to have a contract, Mr. Banks, let me explain something. It gets to be a little bit tricky. There has to be, in order to have a valid contract, there has to be some consideration. That means that each person is giving something. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What would be the consideration, in your judgment, for Ms. Helser to make an agreement to pay you any part of your prom expenses?
I think she felt morally obligated. She still stated to me that Diana had just gotten a job. I didn't know Diana had a job. She said Diana had just gotten a job and that she'd make Diana pay me back my money as long as I had receipts. And I have receipts here right now.
Just a second. So she said she would make Diana pay you back?
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe you.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helser stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother Lori are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
Go ahead.
I was on the other line. He had three-wayed Miss Helser. While I was on the phone, she did say that Diana would pay for the expenses out of her own paychecks because she had just gotten a job.
That's not true. What I said was I would consider based on seeing the receipts. And whether or not you were on the line.
Ms. Helser?
Yes.
I'm going to flip over for a moment to your counterclaim, which I'm prepared to hear in 30 seconds or less. He's got a claim for maybe $500. He's got receipts that totally says maybe $500. You have a $4,000 counterclaim because,
Yes,
according
ma'am.
to you, your daughter was harassed, defamed, etc. She flunked all of her finals, because of what he did. So you
Yes.
want to get there, please? Diana?
Yes, ma'am.
Start with the ad.
I had been on MySpace and I saw a ad that Kayla had posted about paying people to kick my...
Read it directly.
Just as you don't have to read it to me.
Okay.
What does that have to do with him if Kayla wrote something?
John had confronted some girls at school about...
Don't tell me any hearsay. I don't want to hear
Signed
any
it.
hearsay.
See it.
He had been talking to Kayla on the conversation that I have in front of me about 2 girls that are going to beat my... and that basically I would look better if my was kicked.
What else?
Okay. In this email, he's saying that she'll look even worse after getting beat. The girl that's going to beat her is Jason's ex-girlfriend, who's because her and Diana used to be friends, and she thinks that's f***ed up, that she's with her ex. Oh, well, whatever the reason is, she wants to beat her. It'll work. Hit me back.
What does that have to do with him?
This is
That's
his
what he
word
said.
saying that
I don't care.
he's
What does
got
that have
2
to do with
girls.
him? According to that email, Jason, the new boyfriend, had an ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend of Jason is going to beat her up.
He's got 2 girls at school ready to beat my daughters.
No. Listen to me. What you just read to me was that the girl is Jason's ex-girlfriend who is angry with her. He may not discourage it. He may even like it. But that's what you just read to me.
I disagree.
Well, I don't care what you agree with, Miss Helsa. I would listen to you if you took responsibility for your daughter's bad behavior and said to me, listen, this was a teenage thing. I feel responsible for my daughter's bad behavior. Blew him off, and he was a very nice young man. And
I didn't know
I'm
that.
speaking. I'm speaking. Well, he was a very nice young man. He called you 2 days later. He called you most respectfully. Otherwise, you would have hung up on him. He called you most respectfully and said to you, this is what your daughter did, and it was not the right thing to do. So he was most respectful. And if you came into court, or didn't even have to come to court, if you said to him, look, I think what my daughter did was reprehensible, and I'm going to do the best I can to cover your expenses, and I'll make my daughter pay me back for whatever your costs were, because what she did was immature. She's only 16. But also unkind. And I don't raise my child to be unkind, an unkind human being, then I would have respect for you instead of making excuses.
I'm not making excuses.
You did make excuses, because I didn't hear you say to me at any time, he's a nice young man, he tried to do the right thing. My daughter did the wrong thing. My daughter was not hospitalized. She did not seek doctor's counsel that day or the next day. She went out with her girlfriend Julie and her new boyfriend Jason, and they hung out together until after midnight, and it was not the right thing to do when he was supposed to pick her up at 4 o'clock, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not, I'm speaking, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not in an emergency room.
We did not have any idea when he would arrive to pick her up.
Madam, you are operating somewhere in La La Land. Your daughter knew he was going to pick her up at 4 o'clock.
Did you know that?
No, ma'am.
Yes, you did. Because you spoke to her and you were supposed to double date. So don't give me baloney. Let me see the receipts, please. Did you flunk your classes?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you leave school?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what happens when you do the wrong thing. You didn't give the flowers to anybody else, did you?
No, Your Honor.
You're even, my dear, going to pay for your own flowers, because I think that your mother made an agreement with him to do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $415. That's all. Thank you.
Benjamin Graham says former friend and landlord Lark Bowman stole belongings from his home when he went to jail.
Mr. Graham, according to the complaint that I read, you rented an apartment from Miss Bowman.
Yes.
When did you rent the apartment from her?
The summer of 2004.
July or August?
I'm not sure of the date, Your Honor.
When did he rent the apartment, Miss Bowman?
In the fall time of 2004.
Do we have a month?
Yeah, it was in November, actually.
Does that sound right?
That sounds about right.
And then, according to you, Mr. Graham, you were incarcerated for a period of time, and you claim that Miss Bowman stole some of the property that was in your apartment
Yes,
when
indeed.
you were there. Miss Bowman says she did not do that. She says that your friend Gail, with whom you are currently living, who lives in the apartment complex, she took your property. She has no knowledge of your property. She did take a couple of things that she says she had loaned to you when you moved in. Those were bookshelves.
Correct.
And what else?
And a desk.
And a desk. Those are the two things that you indicate
I
here.
had many other things there that belonged to me, but I did not take them.
Bookshelves and a desk were the only two things that you removed from the apartment.
Correct.
Now, Mr. Graham, when were you incarcerated?
On the 22nd of May,
How long were you in jail?
40 days.
For what?
Drug paraphernalia possession.
What items do you claim that Ms. Bowman took from your apartment?
Couch, 2 couches, bedroom set, laptop computer, a variety of miscellaneous electrical items. I'm an electrician.
Like what?
Lights, ceiling fans, outlets.
You mean that weren't in the walls? That
Not
were
in the
just
walls.
there?
Yes, just there. Yeah.
So, tools of your trade. What
Yes.
else?
I had a variety of things that I had a list of, and unfortunately I didn't bring the list with me, but it was...
All right, Mr.
Okay.
Graham, what proof do you have that Miss Bowman, who denies that she took these things from your apartment, what proof do you have that she took them?
Well, besides the fact that my friend and neighbor was there when it was being taken, I also have some photos, Your Honor, that the neighbor who lived in the apartment across the driveway happened to take.
I'd like to see them.
Yes.
Who has a blue truck?
Nobody I know.
The truck is purple, Your Honor.
Purple truck.
My brother.
I'm going to ask you some questions. I better get a reasonable answer. Your last name is?
Bowman.
How old are you, sir?
I'm 39 years old.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a painter.
Of houses?
Houses. I do maintenance. My sister owns rental properties.
So you work for your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you employed on an annual, or does she pay you periodically?
Periodically, hourly.
How long have you worked for your sister?
Here in the last 4 months,
Prior to that,
I worked as a forklift operator, supervisor.
you took your purple truck to Mr. Graham's house that he was renting, and you and your sister removed certain property. Is that correct?
My sister had called me at the end of May.
I have pictures. I just want you to know that I have
Right.
pictures.
I
So let's
understand.
not play with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
I asked you a specific question. I said, did you go to the house and remove certain property that was in the house that Mr. Graham was renting?
The property that belonged to my sister.
The house that Mr. Graham was renting.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
What property did you remove, sir?
There was a desk.
Be very careful.
Computer
Desk.
Yeah.
Go
Shelf.
ahead.
Old lamp.
A lamp. What else?
There was a few boxes, miscellaneous boxes.
Boxes. Say nothing, Miss Bowman. Boxes. What about tables, sir? Did you remove any little tables?
At
Did you
the time,
remove any little tables, sir?
Not that I recall, I didn't. Gail was there with her truck, too. In the process, I
I'm
was...
talking about a purple truck.
Yes, Your
That
Honor.
would be yours.
Yes, it would.
What color is your truck? Brown. Did you remove any upholstered pieces from the house, Mr. Bowman?
No,
You know
no.
what upholstered pieces are?
Rugs, upholstery,
I didn't say rugs. Rugs aren't upholstered pieces, sir. I'm talking upholstered pieces, usually chairs and sofas.
there was one sofa.
One
that was-
sofa. Let's
was
just
from
get there. One sofa.
One sofa.
All right, so you removed a sofa. Now, there were some boxes. How many boxes were there, Mr. Bowman?
I would say 2 to 3.
And with your hands, show me how big the boxes were, sir.
I would say the boxes were that size.
What did you do with the boxes?
The boxes got thrown in the garbage along with the rest of the kitchen utensils, all the food that was spoiled and rotten,
Where did you throw them?
right there in the alley in the garbage.
I'm asking you about the things that you put in your truck, sir.
Yeah, them items, them boxes, all was garbage. We were cleaning the apartment out to rent it out to another tenant while Mr. Graham had been in jail.
What did you do with the sofa, sir?
The sofa went down to our uncle's house. who said that he was going to use the sofa, which was...
Just answer my questions. I asked you what you did with the sofa. Sofa you brought to your uncle's house. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you do with the lamp?
The lamp was also with my uncle.
2 little end tables. Those go to your uncle's house too with the lamp?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how easy that was, Mr. Bowman?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. You got my drift.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I'm 10 paces ahead of you, Miss Bowman. Your brother has just indicated, marginally, that your uncle has been the recipient of largesse in a sofa, end tables, and a lamp that we know about. That is not a desk and bookshelves. We understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
These photographs don't show a laptop, computer, fans, tools, and other stuff. But, Miss Bowman, you took more out of his house than the desk that you let him borrow and the bookshelves. You know how I know that? Because he told me so. You lied when you told me that the only thing you removed from the house was a desk and bookshelves.
I didn't stay the entire time, so I don't know what else was there.
You lied when you told me that the only thing you removed were desks and bookshelves. He works for you. He is your employee. Anything that he did is attributable to you. He is your agent.
Gail, when I went in, Gail said, I'm going to pack up all Benjamin's stuff. Whatever's left there, I would have to go out to the dump. We moved 2 couches out to the dump.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. That could have been something that you told me. That you took, I'm speaking, that you took other items from the house, but you took them from the house because they were not being used. Your uncle would have put them to good use, so you took them because he was in jail and Gail told you to. You could have told me that. That's not what you told me. You told me that the only thing you removed from the house was a desk and bookshelves. And that, madam, was not true.
I didn't witness them taking anything else. I just asked about the shelf and the desk. And I've got pictures of Benjamin's car.
I'm going to explain something to you from my perspective.
Okay.
You're not telling the truth. Now, I could say that in many different ways. You see how dry-mouthed you get when you lie? When you lie, your mouth gets really, really dry, Miss Bowman. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.